welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode number 87. I'm Dave Z, 87, yes.
Hi, everybody. My name's Christian.
Brandon, good morning. It's a very strange... I don't like introducing myself.
Well, we don't like it either, actually.
No, I'm serious. Does it feel natural to you?
No,
like
but it's okay.
It sounds really natural when Dave says it.
Wow, really?
He's
well,
like,
because
hey,
I already said something.
It's like, hey, I'm Dave Z. Like, you sound like you're introducing someone else when you say you're Dave Z. And it just sounds very natural. Christian, you sound fine too, but I definitely feel, like you don't want to be doing it. And when I say it, I cringe.
Well, it's not that I don't want to do it. I'm always waiting. A, you're not on video, so I can't see you right now. B, I don't know if you're about to jump in or if Dave's going to continue talking. And every time I do it, Dave continues to talk.
Yeah, we never know if Dave's going to continue talking or not.
That's true. That's been a problem.
You think the fans want Grimsby today? Grimsby is back.
Yeah.
That's where we'll edit in, and none of this would have been heard.
Perfect. There you go. This is what a situation this is. This is we're stepping to the AM in this day and in this morning for this show. This is an AM recording. Absolute Dave will not be here. I'm sorry. It's what time is it? Like hold on.
Just after 9.
9:19, and I'm gone, but I'm not that far. Actually, I'm not even that gone anymore. But I couldn't drink vodka at 9:20 in the morning. It ain't gonna happen. So I'm back to Tim Hortons, Dave.
Colombian Dave.
Colombian cargo.
Dark roast Dave.
Dark roast Dave. Nice. Woo! It's actually spump. Yeah, spump. It's actually pumpkin spice hat, for that matter.
Blumpkin spice?
Pumpkin spice. And it's kind of early, but my wife already bought the pumpkin spice. Usually I have the stuff I have in the house, the creamer or something. It's the Hershey's something or other.
Highway?
But what's that? Highway? Take the Hershey Highway.
He's on fire, man.
Yeah, buddy. Maybe
dropped about 21 lives.
We got to step to the AM more often. Yeah. The Sunday morning call has got to be what it's about, apparently, because this is the first time thing for us. We're usually in the evenings. Maybe this will be our new gimmick. Maybe we'll be a morning show.
The morning drive.
Yeah. Horror in the morning with B, C, and D. Here we are, We
have to have crazier names. You can't just be Christian. I'm going to be like Chainsaw Charlie. Okay. It's a horror show. We're here with Diamond Dave, Chainsaw Charlie. Or and Christian. I don't know why Charlie's my new name.
Well, Chainsaw Charlie's got a ring. I can dig it. Yeah. Chainsaw Charlie. That's your new name, Charlie. Charlie in Grimsby.
Chainsaw Charlie here.
The morning show.
Yeah.
So, guys, how was your weekend? All that bullshit. The news sucks. The traffic almost always sucks.
Alternate side parking is in effect today.
Are
you guys getting a heat wave too? Speaking of the weather.
Yeah, we're doing the weather. So, yes.
Weather on the tubes.
Weather on the tubes.
922.
That's why I have the pumpkin spice going on. That's why I'm not happy about the pumpkin spice, because I can't drink pumpkin spice coffee until I feel it's October weather. It seems unnatural to me. You know how you can smell that in the air and feel it in October, right?
They're bringing it out in the end of August now. Everything gets pushed forward a bit. Back to school now. You get in July. Pumpkin spice now. Last week of August, it seems.
I'm getting ready for the summer already. Next summer.
Maybe this year you'll get some sun.
Indeed.
You pale motherfucker.
Indeed. Yeah,
maybe.
Pale. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, see, maybe.
Oh, no.
Yeah, maybe Chainsaw Charlie, yeah.
This is the morning show. Holy shit, we're not going to talk horror at all. We're going to talk about weather and chainsaws. Oh, and I'm getting a text already. See, this is the problem with doing something in the morning. My wife's texting me, "Good morning, baby. I need to give Lucky his meds." So that's going to lead into the whole situation with me and my cat. And I did a video the other day. And it's funny because I know our show just came out, and I haven't been online and everything else very sparingly, and I planned on staying that way. And then this situation presented itself with this cat, and it's been a week and a day, but I'll get right to it because I talked about it on the live video I did. And one of the reasons I made a live video, well, number one, because I was bored and I was walking my dog, which is what I do. And number two, because I'm slowly going to make my way back on the internet with a new and improved attitude. But this has to do with nothing else but a cat. And I know it's weird. It's something that's happened to me, and it feels like I don't know, my whole attitude is different, and I think it's like here to stay. I'll try to make this short. It's no promises, but at least hopefully you guys can bust my balls or something and make it entertaining to people that don't give a shit about cats. Sorry to people that don't, but I'll get it out of the way because I talked about it on the thing, and some people wanted to hear it, so I'll make it quick. Well, I won't, but okay. So last week I'm driving. It's Saturday. It's about 11 a.m. and I'm doing my FedEx. One of the jobs I have is delivering for FedEx. I'm on this country area, and I drive up to this house, and I'm delivering a tire to the house. Now, since becoming a cat guy, because I've had my 2 cats for the past year and so many months now, I really do like cats. It's like I was telling my wife just last month, because one of my other jobs is reading meters at houses. So I go up to houses all the time. I see animals and shit all the time.
Peer through the windows.
I really do enjoy cats, and I never knew this until I had some. Now, every time I see a cat, I give it a little call. I say hello, and I'm like, hey, kitty, I do my thing. So, but I just, I see a cat laying outside or chilling, whatever, and one of 2 things happens. One, it runs away, because now I know where scaredy cats come from. They don't want to be bothered. They're a little afraid. And the other, they come over to you.
And claw your eyes out.
No, that hasn't happened yet. Although this one could have. But no, they come over, and they greet you, and they put they rub their head up against your hand, and they're loving animals. I say hello, and I'm on my way. So I pull up to this house, and it's like a stone driveway, and the house is to the left, and to the right's like this garage that's separated from the house. And I park my vehicle. It's a big FedEx van, and I see the cat there laying in the grass. And I was like, "Hi, kitty." You know what I mean? Okay, I just looked and whatever. And then didn't come over, didn't do anything, just chilled. But it was far enough back. So then I scanned the tire, and I put the tire on the porch. And I noticed that there's another tire that was delivered yesterday from another FedEx driver. I'm like, well, these people are either A, aren't home, or B, they're just not getting their shit, whatever. So I scanned the tire, I put it on there. This whole thing takes maybe less than a minute, and I walk a tire, I scan, I put it on the porch. I turn around, the cat is no longer there. I don't think much of it. Okay, the cat ran off, whatever. I go up to my car to get into my front door. The cat's in front of my vehicle, and it's coming over to me, and it's meow, 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 kind of a weak meow,
no.
And I'm like, hey, kitty. It's funny because I actually videotaped. It's like I knew something was going to happen. First, I took a picture when I saw it, and then I videotaped my meeting with it. It was really weird. But now the cat comes up to me, little tiny kitten, little black kitten, and it's crying, and I'm like, well, the first thing I thought of was, and then I came up to it, it was bony as hell, just bad.
Aww.
And oh, dude. And I had to give it some food. I had nothing left but my noisy chips over here. I had crumbs left from my chips. Okay. Now I felt that bad that I tried to give this thing crumbs from my bag because it felt like it looks like it's starving and it wants something. So I'm trying to give it crumb that's not taken to him. I tried to dump my water in my bottle cap and give it to him, give him something to drink. Nothing. Then I'm like, what am I going to do? Then I'm trying to leave. I didn't want to leave, but what can I do?
Yeah.
I'm trying to leave, and it gets in front of it keeps running under my car.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I can't do this. I got to get it out. I got to trick it or something. So then I walk to the back door, and I decide I'm going to knock on this people's door and say, hey, there's a cat out here. It looks like it's in trouble. Is it your cat? So I go, I knock on the door. There's no answer. The cat did, in fact, follow me. I came back. I had a clear path to pull out. I said my goodbye to the cat. I said, I felt bad about it. What can I do?
Said my goodbye. Farewell, kitty.
I felt terrible. I didn't want to leave it, but I can't.
I'll bring you more crumbs tomorrow.
I got 2 more tires to deliver. They're buying 1 a day. These bricks.
I know. Well, thank God, though. Thank God that they did get in that way. Otherwise, I never would have met the cat. But so this happens, and I pull out. And I feel terrible. And I start immediately calling everyone I could think of. SPCA, animal control. I called about 3-4 numbers. Pulling to the side, this, that, and even doing so when I was driving, which I shouldn't do, but I was rushing for work, and it was a country road. I was alone. I was panicked about the cat, so to speak. So nobody's around. And this is Saturday morning at like 11. And nobody's answering. Nothing's going on. Everything's closed. I'm like, what the And I said, you know what? If I leave this cat here and nobody's around till Monday, this cat's not going to last 2 more days. This cat was bony. It didn't look good. Its eyes had a little bit of yellow stuff in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I call my wife and I say, listen, each passing minute I'm feeling worse and worse about this. I can't just let this happen. And now they had to go somewhere. They had an appointment at 3 to get my daughter's hair done, which is an all-day event. So it is. She's getting braids and this and that and the other thing and yada, yada, yada. My wife's like, listen, she's like, I'll come up there and I'll pick up the cat if you go back and get it now. I said, you will? I go, you got the appointment. I'm 2 hours away. She's like, well, I'll call her. We'll be late. We'll figure it out. And I said, okay. I said, awesome. I said, thank you. I'm going to go back right now and hopefully it's still there. And I went back. It was like 10 minutes away. I drove back up, pulled up. The cat was walking around. I picked
Totally
it up.
healthy.
It had put on 20 pounds. Yeah. Not quite sure it was the same cat.
But I felt better about it.
It was white all of a sudden. It was a calico when I came back.
There you are. Yeah.
I just picked up any cat that I saw. Yeah. Damn it. I told my wife, now she's going to get mad. I got to get a cat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was there. I picked him up. Poor little bony thing. I picked him up and I put him in, and it sat in my lap as I'm driving. Did not want to leave my lap. Just kept looking up at me and trying to meow. Such a loving little thing. Probably grateful to be out of the heat. And you know, someone took him away from whatever hell was happening. He had a fly attached to the freaking back of his back. Dude, I was sickened by the whole thing. How anyone can let this happen to this little kitten.
So did you go back and slash the tires?
Sons of bitches, I should have.
F you.
You're right. I should have stolen the tire from the day before, not the one I just brought, because they'd be too obvious.
And I was getting a little worried because I thought the story was going to go that I went, picked up the tire, and put that cat out of its misery. I'm kidding.
Wait.
I knew you wouldn't do that.
I felt terrible, dude. But as soon as I got him in there, he was all about me. He was all happy, and I had to take him off a couple times because I'm working. So I had to pick him up and put him on the passenger seat to get out and deliver my packages. And every time I did it, he's like, luckily he had strength. I didn't know how much strength he had because the way he was walking and stuff, he has a weird walk and his head wobbles a little bit and shit. So I'm like, I don't know if he's sick or it's from malnutrition or what the deal is, but he had enough energy that every time I got up, he wanted to come out. He was like walking across where it's like a big truck and has a place for your drinks. He's walking across that thing trying to get to me. So he wanted to be with me, and he just kept looking up at me, and I'm holding him as I'm driving and everything because he's so small he could fit into my lap. And I'm driving, my hands are on the steering wheel. It's not, it's not an obstruction at all. It's not like having, my dog walk across me or something. There's a company called Chewy. Dude, people order this shit by the box. And when I say the box, I mean like 20-pound boxes for their animals. And I'm in this farm area delivering around. Some people have like freaking 6 dogs and 2 cats and this and that. And I was so mad in the morning because I was delivering one house. I was delivering these 6 20-pound freaking boxes of Chewy. Right? But I knew that it was only 2 deliveries away from when I picked up the cat. So I'm thinking maybe these people are animal lovers. Maybe I can get some food, or maybe they'll, I'll tell them I found the cat on the side of the road or whatever, and they can help me. So sure enough, I got there and I asked them. They did bring the cat in. They fed it. The lady said it ate like it never ate before, and it drank some water. And they gave it back to me, and she said, "Well," she's like, "I don't know." She's like, "Good luck. I hope the cat survives." And that's what I'm thinking. And then that's what I would tell my wife when I called. I go, "You know what? Even if this cat dies, at least it's gonna, it's gonna go out a better way, knowing that there's somebody in the world that cares for it. That instead of whatever happened to it, that it's all discarded. At least it can pass with some, a compassionate person or people around it. The prognosis wasn't good. That's what I was thinking. That's what she was thinking. Then when I met my wife, she said the same thing. She's like, "Oh," she goes, "I don't know." My daughter started crying, dude.
Oh.
Bad scene. Yeah. So we got it home. I was working, of course. My wife, they bathed it. They gave it a nice bath in the kitchen sink with some Dawn soap. And she has a friend that has all this stuff. That's where we got our cats from. And they said, "We'll take it." And I'm like, "No." The thing is, if they took it, that'd be the end of it. I'd never see it again. And I said, "You know what? I just tell them thank you, but no thank you. If someone's going to help this cat, it's going to be me." This cat insisted on coming to me when it saw me. There's a reason for it. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it. I'm gonna keep the cat. We went home. They cleaned the cat up because it had shit on its tail, like syrupy type shit. I don't know what this poor baby went through, but it went through something. He had a scratch on his head, like where his hair should be, and the very top is like a zigzag type thing. And so the cat's all cleaned up. And then Sunday morning, we took it to the hospital, and they gave it some antibiotics. And then we had an appointment with the vet on Monday. Everything was different then. They said that he had fleas. They said that he had worms. He had upper respiratory infection, and that it had to be isolated if it lived for at least 10 days from the other animals in the house because it could have rabies. And they said, be careful. And it had anemia. The blood was messed up. All kinds of issues. So we got the medicines for the congestion problems that it had. We got eye drops. His eyes are better now. It's been a process. He's eating really good. Every day he's getting better. He's walking around more. Every night he has to be babied. He has to be put separated from the other animals. So he's in this room, the guest room. He has to go to bed in the cage. He uses his little litter box we gave him. And I baby him for an hour, and he loves to be held. I take him outside, give it some air. And my wife's been great. She spends time with him, gives him medicine. So literally we're taking this cat that was like just about, even the vet said, and we're still not out of the woods yet. She's like, if he survives, he goes, the next 10 days are going to be touch and go. Well, today's day 8 now. He's getting stronger. He's getting bigger. Everything's going along with him. His eyes are nice and clear now. We can see he has pretty eyes. Couldn't see any of that stuff before. That's the kind of shape he was in, But I even took a picture yesterday, and I showed my wife. I go, this is him a week ago, and this is him now. And what a difference, So it's been an experience, and I sit there every night, and I hold him, and I look at him, and I named him Lucky, and, he's lucky he found me, and I'm lucky I found him. He didn't come to me that moment, and I didn't come to that house that moment. None of this happens. Who knows what happens to the poor cat?
The podcast would be canceled.
Yeah, the podcast. You guys wouldn't.
You don't understand the repercussions that this would have had.
A nice story.
It is a very nice story. I'm interjecting really bullshit comedy into the middle of it.
Lucky Mazee.
Nice. He's a sweetheart, though. I hope he stays that way. He still has some ways to go. I mean, I'll check it out though. To sum it up, yesterday I went to the house because I had a delivery maybe a mile away from that house where I found him last week. So I'm on the phone with my wife. I said, you know what? As long as I'm here, I'm going to go to that other house, and I'm going to see if anyone's there, and I'm going to ask them about this cat because I want to know. Because people at work know about it and this, and everyone has a different opinion. Oh, it's this. Maybe it escaped something. Maybe it's a barn cat. And I'm thinking, stop making excuses. Somebody had this cat and freaking didn't want it and treated it like shit. And I know it. And so I go to the house yesterday. And I pull up, and there's this lady sitting on the front steps, and I asked her about this cat. And she goes, I don't live here. She goes, I'm watching the kid, though. But the kid has a lot of cats. So she called the kid to come out. Some 10, 11-year-old kid comes out, and I asked him about the cat. And I said, because I was here and this, that. I knocked on the door. I was just wanting to know if it was okay and if it was your cat. And the kid was like, he's like, yeah. He goes, oh, he's gone. I said, where is he? I think he's dead. He was sick and probably diseased, and he had some problems. I'm like, okay, that's really all I had to hear. So either the kid's an asshole or his parents are an asshole, and they had a sick cat and they discarded it. Either way,
like both. What 10, 11-year-old kid says he doesn't know what happened to his cat? Yeah,
you're right. And I feel better about the fact that I took it now and everything else, and that what kind of life would he have had even if he was freaking?
No, you did the right thing. They don't deserve to have any cats. I'd go back and steal the rest of them.
I wish I could. Believe me, my wife said no more cats, no more animals. Because she knows I have the soft spot, and so does she. I mean, she adores this cat. It's like being newborns. We have having a newborn. We have to stay up with it. We got to get it up a couple times a night and give it medicine and everything else. And it's.
Are you breastfeeding
it? Bottom line is, at the end of it all, when I look down at this kitty and see everything that's happened, I know it probably sounds corny to people, but I don't know. I feel a lot better about a lot of things in life, and I'm lucky that to had this experience and nursing this cat back to health and everything else. It's been I don't know, it's been like an enlightening experience. And I know it probably sounds cheesy as fuck, like why is this such a big deal to him? I can't explain why.
No, and as you're telling the story, I'm just thinking to myself, like, how am I going to edit this down and make it entertaining for everybody?
Just every time he says cat, just put in dog.
Put in a bark.
No,
Wow.
it's awful the way some people treat animals. It's the worst.
It really is, man. It really is. And this kitty's got a heart of gold. And you know, it is what it is. But I'll tell you what.
You did a mitzvah.
A mitzvah? What's that mean?
A good deed.
A good deed? Yeah, well, who couldn't? That's what I don't get. People tell me that, and the people at work and this and that, I would have left it. I'm like, who could possibly leave a cat that comes up to you when you know something that it's weak and bony as hell? Oh my God, how bony it was. When I picked it up, I thought I was going to break him.
I could. I've got leather
Who
seats.
could possibly?
I'm kidding.
Unfortunately, Dave, as much as I would agree with you, I definitely would have done the same thing. A lot of people would just be like, "Oh, not my problem." It's just some people suck.
Apparently, yeah.
Simple as that.
But the fact that some people suck is something that I accept, and I don't care about trivial things anymore. Which is why I am going to slowly make my way back to the internet. I slowly have done a thing here and there. My whole attitude about things on the internet, I don't really care about things I cared about before. Like even this whole thing that I don't care if people are saying things in chat now. Oh, wow, Dave's coming back to the fucking internet. So much for that. You knew this was going to happen. I don't care if people are doing things like that and whatever. None of that matters to me. Like, I don't even want to weigh in. Like, even when I'm looking at Facebook, just scrolling, someone said something the other day about the best horror of something. You know my attitude about best and favorites being the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody said something, and then Moods came in there and said, how come you guys are always talking about best? He goes, how can you do this? He goes, you should really be asking for favorites. Now, in the past, I would have weighed in under Moods and said, well, Moods, the way I think it is, best and favorites are the same thing, and I'll explain why. You didn't listen to the show, but I'll tell you my whole analogy. I'm to the point now, and there's nothing negative about that, but I know that's just going to lead into a conversation that it's pointless. A lot of this stuff is pointless. I would rather just not even weigh into anything that, I don't know, that is anything like that could be considered debatable or anything like that. Kind of like the way you guys are. Like you two, your internet activity is pretty chill.
To be honest, I mean, when it comes to the horror community, I've never let anything bother me. I've seen things where I see other people and I'm like, geez, what the hell is this? But like, I kind of just, I just know to avoid it when it's ridiculous and get involved when I know it's safe.
And I'm more of an asshole. I really don't care. And I hate to admit it. It sucks. Like, I just really don't care what a lot of people have to say. I'm sorry, guys.
Like, I understand what you're saying, because at the end, I mean, I know you're kind of saying it like half jokingly, but at the end of the day, you're right. Like, yeah, like at the end of the day, like if you hate a movie I love or you love a movie I hate, it doesn't affect me. I'm not mad at you.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
Why should it affect?
Yeah.
Why should it affect anybody?
But it does.
We've got people that will just say asinine things, and I feel like it's to fuel fire. So then I'm like, well, I'm not interested in that anyway. But like, it comes to the point where just like, I guess your opinion doesn't matter to me.
The more important thing is, Christian, I was not aware of this. Did you know Dave Z was even gone from the internet?
I did.
But the thing is, I'm creeping back in slowly, and but a new way, not as active and not as much. And the funny thing is, all of a sudden, everybody's tagging me. Ever since I walked away from it, I'm getting a tag like every 3 days.
I noticed that.
Nobody tagged me before. It's crazy. I'm like, what the hell? So now I'm slowly coming back to the talking part, and I feel I should. Why should I let a few bad apples, or not even bad apples? My reactions to things mess everything up, and enjoy the good times that I could be having with some people online. You know what I mean? It's silly. Like, my attitude now is this. Like, a silly, stupid thing that was said in the chat room about the WotZ party being a freaking stupid name for a podcast caused ridiculous nonsense when it was nothing. It was nothing. It's so silly. Like, in the past, yeah, okay, Derek and Mood said something to Watson. Watson told me I said something on the air. Derek got mad because I said something back about it. Now that's squashed, but it was some little thing that now this is what I'm saying. Now, me the way I am now, if the whole thing happened again and Watson came to me and said, hey, this happened and these guys said this and this, I would just laugh about it. And I wouldn't even say anything on the air about it. That's the difference. That's Dave now. Again, it's over with now, but the bottom line is this. You don't know how people are going to react. So the way the person I am now, I would just not say anything at all. I would just laugh about it. I go, they don't get it? I go, that's funny. And that'd be the end of it. Why did I find the need to talk about it or even write about it online is beyond, even though it was all in fun. So I just don't care about things like that anymore. Or I'm finding myself pulling away from giving a shit about too many things. I just want to have fun. That's all I want to do with my life, is have as much fun as I can.
And that's where I'm coming from. Because if I come from a negative standpoint and the way that I describe that, it's because I'm just there for fun. I really don't care.
It's rare though that these negativity posts come into play, but it seems like when they do, they just garner so much reaction from people.
Yeah.
Even though the people who are reacting are saying, "Oh, I don't care, I'm done with this," but they're reacting to it, and they're fueling the fire, and then those posts wind up with like 200 comments, and it just becomes a whole thing. Then people are getting banned, and it's like, really? I'm just sitting there watching. I'm like, I can't.
This is your life?
I'm
Right?
hoping like if this is your biggest issue in life, then good for you. You have a great life.
No, I mean,
this is the worst thing you're dealing with.
Right.
Seriously.
Social media to me is ridiculous. The whole concept of it is fairly ridiculous, but it is supposed to be a community, and we're fans, and that it's supposed to be fun. Every day I'm just like, oh my God. So I'll come in, make a joke, comment, I'm out. Done. I'll even respond to something. I've told people, I go, I'm sorry. If you're expecting me in Messenger to give you big, long responses, you're not going to get it.
No. Focus on the positive. I mean, the politics and all that stuff is one thing. You guys know I ignore that and everything else. But in the past, I was outspoken about my passion for not liking them. Like someone would say something politically, and I would have to go out of my way to say, you know what? I don't care about politics. I don't care about this, that, the other. I'm not. That's not the way I would say it. But I would find I have to weigh in saying that I don't care about all this shit that you guys have so much passion about. Why can't you just leave it be? Now, if they want to talk politics all day, every day till the day they die, and hopefully they've made a change, and in their life they think they've made a change, and it makes them happy, who am I to say? If you're not hurting anyone, who cares? If someone's behaving a certain way, if people want to have like a pissing war about who watches the most obscure horror and who does this and who owns what, you know what? Salute. Do what you want to do. I'm not going to speak against it. In the past, maybe I would have. I would have come on and say, well, you know what I mean? That's the difference now. The person I am now, I'm just, it's like I said, scroll past. I'm just going to scroll past, man. There's very little I'm going to comment on. I'm going to let people. I
see those posts and I'm just like, nope. Even if I agree with what the person's saying, I'm like, I'm not getting involved in this.
And it's just like that Shockwaves thing. Same deal. I won't say it. Even though I don't start shit, if somebody says something and I think that, the mod does something ridiculous, where in the past I would joke about it, or I might even put a post on our page or say something, those days are over. I'm not going to laugh about it. Even though it's all in good fun, I think it's ridiculous. I'm not going to care anymore. I'm not going to say, oh, wow, that's just the way they do their things. If they're happy there and if people are happy there, fine.
I have a good approach to this, especially with the social media thing. If I don't like someone or something that they're doing or something like that, I simply erase it from my mind and delete it. Yep. Control-Alt-Delete, and it's gone and it's out of my life. It's not like in real life where you just, unfortunately, you can't avoid, everything.
You Videodrome them out of your life?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
You Control-Alt-Delete them out of your life was awesome. Goodbye.
Yeah, do you remember everyone was complaining on that one group in 22 Shots page about that one guy and this and that and the other thing, and everybody was blowing up about him and the hamster and all that shit and everything else he was doing. And I said it then, I'll say it now. It's just, if you see somebody that's posting annoying stuff and they're not a friend of yours and you don't care about them, why not just immediately block them? And then it's over. Then it's not a problem for anybody. Why would you report it to the admins? Why go through that and say, hey, this guy's doing this? And how about just block them? And then it's over with. Or if you are friends with somebody on Facebook and you like to follow the feeds, just unfollow them if they talk about things you don't like. They can still be your friend, but you don't care what they talk about in their personal life. All you care about is what they talk about in horror groups. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to talk about your politics. You know what I mean? And maybe people don't want to see my cat pictures. So fucking what? That's all good. You know what I mean? Let's concentrate on what brings us together. Not what separates us.
Absolutely. The community portion of it, the horror part, and talk. But
let's give peace a chance.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. And that's the end of that situation.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Woo.
You guys ready to jump into some reviews?
I am. Oh, but real quick, I wanted to share that.
Oh, nice.
Free from hell.
Well, check it out. I decided I didn't want to go see it because I wasn't too thrilled with 31, and it was a $15 charge, and the dummies released it like 4 days prior, announced that it's coming to freaking Blu-ray on October 15th, and I'm thinking, why would you dummies do that now? Because that's going to ensure that I'm going to sit my ass at home now. So I didn't go, and now this came from Christine. She went to go
nice.
see it.
Yeah.
Yes. She got one for herself, and then when they came out, they had extras, and they gave them away. So she said, I thought of you, and I got it for you. So I ended up getting the poster anyway. So
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Yeah.
I'm just thanking Christine for thinking of me.
You're her second favorite.
Maybe when 4 from Hell comes out.
She did send you a poster to go to hell.
I'm there already. Nice. I'm on this show.
Woo! Episode 93. We are going to cover that trilogy as Christine requested. So
I will not be covering that trilogy until I get a poster.
We're gonna have problems here.
Yeah,
we're gonna have problems, buddy.
It doesn't have to be a 3 from Hell poster. It could be any poster, but I want a poster.
All right. Anybody that wants to send B a poster? Yeah, he'll give you the address. I hope.
No, you told us about that show. That's actually a good show because it's been a long time since I've watched the first 2 also. So.
But to get there, we got to get through this show first.
Thank you.
No, we have to get through this show. We got to start this show.
Yes, we do.
All right. Should we tell the folks what we're reviewing tonight since it's just a random hodgepodge of horror?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we have 2 from the Ram Man, Nightbreed and The Descent. Nice. And then we have Videodrome from Mark. And then, Triple R's, we have Pigs from Scott, a.k.a. Chris, and Hell Night from Gary. So, going to be an interesting show, a fun show, movies that aren't really related, and they're just talking some movies.
Yeah,
so,
completely random, and I like it. You ready? Should we just jump right into a feature review?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's start with 1990's Nightbreed.
All right.
Written and directed by Clive Barker. A troubled young man is drawn to a mythical place called Midian, where a variety of friendly monsters are hiding from humanity. Meanwhile, a sadistic serial killer is looking for a patsy.
So we've talked about this on the show.
Have we?
In the past, just bringing it up in conversation when we did the Clive Barker show, maybe here and there.
Oh, yeah.
When I was younger, I absolutely adored this movie. I loved it because I was a Clive Barker fanatic. I had watched it over and over and over again, and then I hadn't seen it in ages. Just because, I wouldn't say I had to fall into the horror like Dave did, but I definitely watched a little less horror in the early 2000s, and it started ramping up again. When the director's cut got released, I watched it once, and I was like admittedly underwhelmed. I know that's not a word, but what are you going to say? And seeing it again for this show, I have to say that my preference to this movie sort of sits in the middle.
I think underwhelmed is a word.
I think so, too.
I was underwhelmed, if that's a word. No, it's not, because I looked it up. It's a song, a Canadian song, I think, by Sloan.
Well, these fucking Canadians are wrong. Man. They're underwhelmed. Past tense, underwhelmed. Fail to impress or make a positive impact on someone. Disappoint. American voters seem underwhelmed by the choices for president.
Oh, no, Dave's talking politics.
That's what it says literally on the thing I read. It's the example they gave.
It's funny that you said that you talked about, where your stance on this film, how it evolved. But I never saw this for some reason when it came out. It's just, I guess, a movie I just missed. So I didn't see this so much later on. And I feel like I'm in the middle for one reason. This feels like 2 incomplete movies to me.
There's art here, and that's where I think my heart still goes. Like, Clive Barker is an artist, and he was trying to create something different. He wasn't just giving us another slasher film, even though this movie has slasher elements to it with Decker and Cronenberg character.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the actual overall film. I don't know if I actually finished my thought because I got in an underwhelmed discussion there. But with the theatrical release and the director's cut, I feel like some of the insertions from the director's cut work, but I can understand why maybe the heads of the studio decided to cut shit for the theatrical release, because there was some stuff at the beginning for sure with Boone, extra scenes that were just not necessary. I don't think really molded their characters any differently than what the theatrical had to present. And I guess for the record, I did watch the director's cut for this, because I don't even know if you can find the theatrical anymore.
Yeah, I've never seen the theatrical cut. I've only seen the director's cut, and one of the big issues with Boone for me with this, and I love a lot of things about this movie, but one of the issues with Boone is, why is he obsessed with Midian and talking about, erasing the sins of his past? What are his sins? We never learn about his sins. Is it in the novel?
Cabal, and again, I haven't read Cabal for a long time, and I love it. But I love it. I read a novel once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
That's it. If I get to it, I should even preface that. And that was my favorite Cronenberg. Oh, sorry, my favorite. my favorite Barker. But it definitely touches upon it more. But I can't go into specifics. I really can't. I would be talking out my ass.
That throws you off, because you're immediately like, are these people in Midian, are they good? Are they bad? Like, what's the deal? Because Boone, Boone's not a bad guy. Pelican even tells him, you're natural.
Well, I think they alluded to that in the script too. They're kind of misunderstood, forgotten, buried, if you will, and that's, I think, we're not told directly. Well, at least in the film version, we're not told directly, so we can make our own assumptions.
He should have some sins, though, especially since, I guess we're talking spoilers, right?
Yeah. I'm good with that.
Okay.
This will be spoilered, everybody.
All right, just because it turns out that he's the chosen one in this whole prophecy.
Sorry,
there had to be at least a sin there, because
those are his sins.
What
what I'm saying? His sins are that he brought about the destruction of Midian, because it was already foretold. So it's like in his psyche.
Ooh.
Boom.
Then that could all right, yeah, I like that.
Now, is it in the book that way? I read Cabal back in the 90s.
That's it. Like, I cannot. I already jokingly said I'd be talking out my ass to directly compare it. I don't know.
Why stop now?
Yeah.
It could be convenience for the movie. It could be convenience because we're not aware of that, the first time viewer, that he is not the killer. So it's just movie convenience.
That's true.
It could just
That's
be a
true.
thing. Or it could be what I said. Those are his sins, because they were pretty pissed at him. You saw how Lylesburg was at the end. You know what I mean? He was like, well, you done this, you brought this upon us, and, everything else. So it was part of the process of Midian, or, the Nightbreed going elsewhere, but they don't know that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Baphomet was cool. Baphomet's like, hey, find me a new place.
Well, this is kind of interesting.
Find me a 2-bedroom in the village.
Because we're talking about the director's cut, but yet that was the biggest criticism, I think, of the theatrical. It's like, oh, well, they trimmed it down and they messed with his art, and there's probably so much more untold in the director's cut, but really there isn't. There's characters and their arcs, some characters and their arcs, almost completely taken out of the theatrical version that had been reinstated in the director's cut, and I'll get into that a bit later. But from a story structure of what Brandon's talking about, none of that I don't think is added.
Yeah, see, I think with the director's cut, and I don't know the theatrical cut, but with the director's cut, so many of the Nightbreed are introduced or shown, and there's just not enough time for them to develop storylines. Like Onaka and even Pelican, and what's the what is she, like the porcupine lady, Shuna Sasi. Like he dreams about her in the opening scene, and I'm like, wow. Mm-hmm. And you really don't learn anything about some of these characters.
Well, the mystery is intriguing, but you're right. I think that we needed maybe a little bit more.
This felt like it should have been like almost like a 6-hour miniseries, like a Stand or something, right?
This should have been a series. That was one of the notes I have. This is something that could benefit from being a TV series. Just think about everything. This whole movie could have been stretched over a much longer time palette.
Well, there is a graphic novel.
Like you guys said.
There was a whole comic book series of this as well that I don't think just retold the story of Cabal. I think it expanded upon it. Listeners out there, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going back to my teens, and I don't own any of the Hellraiser or Nightbreed comics anymore.
I imagine you're right. Because I don't think I don't think Clive Barker would have just ended it where he did. But, for people who, are strictly using the medium of film, I would have loved to see more on film.
Yeah, I agree. And the insertions at the beginning were weird for me because, when you've watched a movie, and again, I told you it had been a while, but it had been so ingrained in your psyche because you've watched it numerous times back in the day. So then you're like, well, I don't remember this. And then you're like, okay, now I could see the insert shots because it was a completed film that they ended up cutting down, I think, at the end. So it's not like it's like My Bloody Valentine unrated insertions. Yeah. It's completed film. And where I'm going with it, though, is like some of the shots at the beginning, I don't think added anything for me. And that's the whole sequence of her singing, because Boone's already stumbling around and they have this whole scene of her singing in the bar. It doesn't add really anything to her other than to know she's a singer. I don't think it adds anything to their character. He stumbles in, they sort of make eye contact, he gets out, and then that whole scene was taken out of the theatrical, and I don't think it was necessary per se. And then there's the whole scene of him envisioning them making love. I don't know, making love. When did I become like so PG?
They were making love.
Or they got bored around. But then it's that vision, and it's very odd. And he's there, and he's like going, "Whoa, what's going on here in the room?" That was all taken out for the theatrical. I don't think that added anything really to the story either. So that's where I'm saying I could see where the producers maybe just said, "No, we're going to trim this down. We're going to trim this down. It's not necessary." I still feel for Clive Barker, the artist, there, because this was filmed. And he wanted it in his movie. And so that from that part, but I kind of agree that it really doesn't add anything. Well,
it certainly worked out for him at this point with, people obsessed with having all three cuts of the film.
Well, there you have it. That's the third cut, the Cabal cut, which is 24 minutes, which I do have. And, the thing is, I agree 100% with what Christian said. A lot of that stuff that's cut, I could see why it's cut.
Yeah.
The ending is different, which I always loved the original ending. And,
I did too.
This
one is a little too like, don't get me wrong, this is kind of his labyrinth or his vision of, like, it's a fantasy horror film through and through, and I love it for that. And he's trying, like I said, he's trying to do something more. He's given us monsters, which is another theme I'm going to bring up later when we talk about The Descent. I want more monster movies, and these are unique monsters, and he did it in his vision. Now he's like, Jesus Christ, all of a sudden. He did it in his vision.
Did it in his vision.
Well, do you know who Jesus is, Brandon? But
his mind is warped with these creations. There, I mean, they're insane.
But they cut down a lot of those. So you're right. They showed a lot of people that I think, again, and I'm blaming it on the quote unquote producers, the evil ones, that cut them out. But like, I don't think you saw a guy with the hand coming out of his chin. You didn't see that Belial lookalike guy, that little mess on the ground. I think they were all cut out of the film for the theatrical, probably because they thought they looked too silly looking. And I kind of agree that that's not a Clive Barker thing. He probably came up with the drawings and whatever, and then K&B or whoever did the effects created them. But there were some weird ones there for sure.
Yeah, of course they're weird, but that's the idea.
Yeah, I know.
But if they were going to cut down on them, they needed to have, I don't know if they needed to shoot more scenes to develop the ones that they did have, and there just wasn't enough development with some of the characters. It just leaves you a little.
You can't develop. I mean, that's like saying you're going to watch Star Wars: The New Hope and develop everybody in the cantina room. There's just, it's for show. It's for, you know what I mean?
We got an action figure of them, though.
Huh?
We sure got enough action figures of them, though.
Yeah, but listen.
That's what we should have for this movie. Action figures of all of them.
The opening dream features, the three of the Nightbreed that you really never get to know at all. With Pelican, Shuna Sasi, and what's the guy with like the moon face? Is that Patine?
I used to know these names. Now you just have to say the moon face. Everybody knows who you're talking about. But
but those three are in the opening thing, and then they really just become extremely secondary. Even though Pelican's, the one who fulfills the prophecy by biting Boone. But in terms of the ending, I never saw the original ending, the theatrical cut ending, but even just reading about it, because I did my research on it just to make sure I knew the difference. I like it better than this one, only because Ashbury is very rushed, and it would have been. It just feels more more oh my god to bring back your main villain at the end, because Decker, I mean, Cronenberg's a fucking badass.
Boy, is he.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I love how he underplays the role. And I was talking to a guy online, and he said he thinks he totally underplayed him. I'm like, well, he's not an actor. Remember, he's not an actor. I think he did a phenomenal job with his character. And again, my young mind back when I was 15, 16 was that I thought the people that he was slaughtering were Nightbreed taking form of humans. That's what I thought back in the day. That's what I thought, because he says later in a little spiel, I thought he explained himself, not realizing that he's just a psychopath, but that he explained himself saying, I'm trying to rid the world of these creatures. So that's where I thought he was actually trying to rid the world of these creatures. And these families were trying to hide out in civilization as regular people. And he's actually hunting them down.
Paul, whose mind is more warped, Clive Barker's or Christian's?
Well, no, but that's how I thought all the way through it. I'm going to be honest.
That's actually pretty cool, though. That's actually a pretty cool idea.
I probably thought that from when I first saw it till maybe around 20, and then I'm like, oh no, he's really just a psychopath.
He had a paper plate in his head.
Waka waka waka.
I love that kill though. I don't know why. It's really cool the way the fruit rolls the blood out on the floor. I don't know why I like that.
Oh, it's stylistic. It's great.
Very stylistic.
Yeah, man. And even the intro is stylistic with the title card, and you see all the freaking. It is this big feel to it with the Elfman soundtrack and everything else, and
beautiful.
Nightbreed slowly coming. Right, isn't it? I've always loved that.
And they're dancing around like, I mean, this is not a traditional horror film. In 1990, maybe he was ahead of his time. Like, has any other movie other than maybe Blade Runner got so many cuts? Maybe Apocalypse Now. I mean, I understand there's the Cabal cut's not like an official release. I don't think it was anyway. Correct if I'm wrong. I think that was a bootleg, correct?
No, they did a limited official release recently in the last couple of years.
Of the Cabal
only
cut.
on DVD though.
Yeah, and it was like super expensive, something like $80, I think.
Oh wow, okay.
I got it.
So I had the laser of this. The theatrical, of course, because that's all they had at the time.
I signed it and sold it.
But I thought when they were talking about a director's cut, I thought it was going to be gorier. And although there are more monsters and there's some more blood and whatever like that, it's actually not gorier. A lot of it, they took out that sergeant character, the cigar chomping guy. He has a whole sub-story, and he's covered in blood at the end. That's not in the theatrical. He's trimmed right down. He's a hard ass. He goes in, but the wage of war on Midian is trimmed right down in the theatrical.
Yeah, see, and that's one thing I probably wouldn't like about the theatrical, because I really love the all-out war at the end. It was really violent and brutal, and when they released the Berserkers, loved it.
Well, I mean, that's there, but it's really trimmed. So this one gives a more rounded thing.
The way it played out now, it was perfect. It was epic.
Well, they give a little bit more of the priest, I think, in the director's cut, so you get a little bit more of him. That was
in the cut we watched. You're saying?
Yeah, there's more of the priest.
Wow. Well, it makes sense that it would be more, given the fact that he's our main villain at the end now, but it still doesn't feel like enough, because he's just a drunk priest in the tank for the night, and
And maybe Barker wanted to build on this, but it was a bomb. It was or a disappointment at the very least when it came out. That's why after Lord of Illusions he kind of gave up on the whole directing thing.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
I'm very mixed with this, because there's so many good things here.
There's a lot to really love in this movie. There is a lot to love. It's a mess. And I would be shocked if Barker himself didn't say it's messy, but there's so much good in here as well.
Yeah.
Or great, even.
Absolutely. This movie, for me, this is a comfort movie. I've seen this so many damn times. And I remember I had this big old poster in my room. It was back in 1990, of course, or 91 maybe, when it came to video. And they had it at the Blockbuster, and they had a big giant poster of it, movie size, And I remember asking them about it. Hey, what happens with this poster when it's done? They go, we're going to throw it out. I said, can I have it? And they said, yeah. And then they called me, and I went and I picked it up. I had it hanging in my room for years. And I was always into Clive Barker and everything else. But I've seen this movie so many times and there's so many good lines to it. And it's like Christian said, I can tell the added scenes just because I've seen the original so much. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that wasn't there before. That wasn't there before. But I really have seen this a lot. But I do love the movie, but I don't love it to the fact that I can't, as the more times I've seen it, and now that I'm getting older and watching it, I do see its flaws in storytelling a little bit. And the funny thing is that this is 100% Clive Barker's preferred cut. I mean, yes, it's the director's cut. That's common sense. But I mean, there is more in the Cabal cut. You know what I mean? That wasn't put here. And, you know, and there's differences in this one. You know, I'm with
I don't.
Joyce.
That's so strange. With who?
With Joyce, Detective Joyce. Like, it's
yeah.
the opposite. In the original version, Joyce lives, and what's his name? Narcissus dies. You know what I mean? It's different.
No, Narcissus died in the director's cut.
Maybe I'm getting
Joyce died in the director's cut, and Narcissus died in the director's cut.
They both died.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joyce lives in the other one, and Joyce
so
actually
does
has
Narcissus.
more.
So does Narcissus live in the other one.
Okay. Well, Joyce has more in the Cabal too. There's more to him. You know,
Now,
honestly,
I'm shocked I haven't seen the Cabal cut.
I haven't seen it either. I prefer the elements from the theatrical cut that include Narcissus living, just because of the whole idea of Boone saying, you know, goodbye to him at the barn before they meet again, where he finds them a new place, you know, to fulfill his duty to Baphomet, and also because of Decker, you know, the rise of Decker. But, you know, because Narcissus is such a great character, has so many funny lines in this, and just is really comical. And then it's just, for him to have a showdown with Decker is fine. And it's okay for him to die, but for them to not show it, to not show some sort of, you know, battle or at least something, and then just, you know, his head show up later on, it's just sort of kind of like, I felt like it was just, I'm not saying disrespectful, but just really quick to get rid of such a, you know, likable, pivotal character.
It wasn't Dave. I don't believe that was in the theatrical. I don't remember his head on a pike or on the
No,
knife.
he lived. He lived. He's in the barn at the end.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't sure if you guys were confusing it or not. Sorry, and then I realized it was just me. But
I confused myself with the third cut.
All right, yeah, no worries, because when I will tell you that I said I saw the director's cut before, but when I didn't watch it all the way through, because when he came out with his head on that thing, I'm like, what? So there was a shock element there, but you're right, there should have been something more there, even in this cut. Now, I don't know, maybe I'll have to see Cabal if they had anything more.
I don't know. How come he gave him a hallucinogenic? What point, what is he trying to do when he said, take these pills? Why give? What does Decker have to gain by giving Boone a hallucinogenic?
You know what? I thought about that too, but I think maybe he thought under hallucinogen he would do something violent or unpredictable and end up, you know, in a bad situation, which he ultimately did. I mean, he didn't do anything bad, but he wound up, you know, getting picked up and he wound up in the hospital.
But what does this end goal of framing him have to do with anything? Like, it's not going to lead him to Midian, or does he think that's what it is? He'll run because he's on the run. He'll go, and that will lead them to it. Was that the thought process?
Absolutely. How is he going to know where Midian is? Because he's the only one that knows where it is Boone. You know what I mean? So he has to get there. So that's the way it's got to be by following.
That's him. That's him getting him out of it. Then, so I guess that explains the hallucinogen. Is like what Brandon said. Is maybe that will just help escalate and get it to the next level. So obviously he didn't know that Boone would be immortal, or what was his thought process? Because he knows these monsters have these powers. So why say he's got a gun? Which I've always loved. They instantly start blowing him away. Like they don't have any regard for this doctor. And not since Donald Pleasance
in them, and then the coroner pulls out like 2 or 3.
Not since Donald Pleasance have the police put so much faith into a doctor. Like they're on it. Listen, on his every word, they're like, "Oh, okay."
And why gun him down just because he has a gun? I mean, he didn't pull it on the guy. He got out of the way. I mean, why not just shoot him once? Why execution?
Yeah.
You know,
it's the cops.
I know, right? Those Canadian cops, man.
He was a victim. Well, they said this was supposed to mirror. There's some thematic elements of maybe
Jesus?
Barker and his homosexuality coming out, and what the monsters of Midian represent versus like the evil and the kind of almost like Nazi-esque and very conservative style police force and everything else on the other side. So, and that does shine through for sure.
Oh, especially with Eigerman. I mean, he's a straight up like Hitler clone.
Totally, man.
That's it. And I think they toned it down for the well, they did. I think they did tone it down for the theatrical cut. So they cut down his most over the top moments. But I think those are necessary for his character and for that final sort of Armageddon moment in the battle.
Yeah, and don't forget, we're also talking about, because they reference that 6 families have been killed in a 10-month period, and we're talking mothers, fathers, and children. So we're talking at this point, Decker's convinced the police that it's Boone who's been doing the killings. So I guess I could see them unloading. I mean, this is not a person you're probably going to take alive if he has a gun and he's drawing a gun on the police after killing that many people. So
and they do make mention of that. And then when what's her name, when Laurie's in the bar and he says, they killed that baby killer, and she's killer. That's fucked up to hear that, because that's her man, and they're talking about him like that. So
you know what's crazy, Dave? You know what's crazy? I just thought about this because you were telling the cat story, how he was all about Lucky and how he was all like weak and bony and stuff, and now you're nursing him back to health and he looks great. That reminds me of the scene with Babette.
Babette, I knew it. I even wrote that in my notes. That's what it reminded me of when I saw it.
That's what I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, oh my god, like, first of all, why the hell was Babette outside? Shouldn't Rachel do a better job of keeping an eye on her?
Right?
Hey, stay inside.
Dude, I can't believe I almost called my wife and said, this reminds me, but she would look at the thing and said, oh, gross. And so I didn't show her that thing. But I thought it about Lucky, too. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I just thought about that. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, shit.
Damn. Oh, Baphomet, Bam-a-lamb.
Oh,
another rushed element or seemingly bizarre element, and again within a fantasy realm, I guess anything can work, was the introduction of the waitress, and there's an extended scene in this cut. So there was the whole conversation sequence, I believe, is cut out of the theatrical, or at least it's really cut down in the theatrical, not maybe totally gone. So there's even less of it. For her to become such I don't want to say main character, but main component of the end, where the waitress goes to help this woman out, get her there, and then meets Decker. How did Decker have time to work his way in and meet her? I guess he was at the bar and we see him, and then they have drinks that night. She has got the hangover. So I guess that's where they explain it all away, but it seems almost too convenient. My
question is why?
Yeah.
Well played, the whole Curtis thing. That's my notes. Well played, Curtis, comma, but why? What was the reason for that? For him to, he didn't need her.
Just because they're helping?
How does she know that she's going to take him to Midian?
This is what I'm telling you. I honestly think, and maybe listeners out there, are these people landwalkers or something like that? Like, are these like maybe monsters that are hiding in people's skins, if you will, suits, like Jason Voorhees, man knows how to dress, and Jason Goes to Hell. Are these really people that are trying to live in the real world that Decker's hunting down? Because how does he know this is all going to happen?
They could have easily way and made it make sense that way.
Well, but
I don't know.
He was in the bar following her, tracking her. They saw that these two were talking. He thinks that she knows where Midian is. Like, you're right, Dave. There's too much of a leap of faith there for it to continue. I mean, I accept it. It just, I feel like there should be more. That wouldn't have been a bad subplot.
Well, she is a local, and they're in the area where Midian is. They're in the area where it's at. So her befriending a local, she sees her talking to her. She probably figures she's asking about the location because she's clearly looking for Boone. So, I get it. I didn't realize it until you just pointed it out, but I'm on board with it.
Well, what about the gas guy? What about the I call him the gas guy, the guy that's like, they wouldn't take me. And then he's like, say it!
Yeah.
Or don't. Or not. Or
nothing.
Yeah, that scene, I don't know about that scene.
Like,
but
well,
I love that scene. What do you mean?
No, I love it too, but he's a psychopath. But why would he say, like, I wanted them to take me. What do you have against them? And all that. Like, why would they accept him? Was he part beast? That's why I'm saying, is it in you?
No. He's just a guy that wants to live forever and live underground. What's wrong with that? I'd go too. If I didn't have a family, I mean. You know?
Yeah, but it's weird that they live forever because they're just described as, an ancient tribe of shapeshifters. So they're not described as immortal, even though they become immortal.
They're not really immortal because they can die, just like they said. Some with some. They even say it. You know what I mean? Everybody die. There's different ways to get killed, and so I think one of them says, "I wish that were true. That we were immortal." So
yeah.
I think
the one guy dies in the sun, which is a heartbreaking scene.
Oh, when he blows up that
yeah.
Yeah.
Like fucking what's his name? Joy should have helped him.
He was intercut in this version a lot more so. Don't get me wrong, he had presence in the theatrical version, but there was definitely more sequences with him in this one.
What happened to the dog? Who took the dog?
How did he get that dog? I guess that maybe the dog was running around.
He was delivering tires. He was delivering tires to a house, and it was a malnourished dog on the.
My favorite breed of dog, Boston Terriers.
No, my brother has those.
Yeah, they're great.
Oh, when they rip out his nipple rings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, dude.
No, there's.
You know what would have been cool? You're talking about making the shapeshifters live amongst the humans. That would have been cool if that was sort of like the like a reveal right at the right before the battle began, because you got this whole huge mob coming. If some of like the mob revealed themselves to be Nightbreed.
Yeah, it's all in the Cabal cut.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. Imagine if it did. That was the difference. That Christian's theory was correct. They're all Nightbreed.
No, I mean, if they can look like regular humans, if they can shapeshift, why wouldn't they try to live amongst the humans?
Yeah, they just said they didn't want to be. Well, they didn't want to be underground. Maybe there's people all the time. They don't think they've got the best of the best or whatever like that. They want something different. They don't want to live in that underground labyrinth of. Which was super cool. Visually speaking, it was awesome. But I mean, I'm just saying, maybe they just said, no, we're going to take our chances in the real world.
Yeah, that flashback, that view of the history that she gives to Laurie is again another thing that's it's very quick, but it's very effective.
That's like the Inquisition, man.
Yeah,
Right, dude. Yeah, that's bad shit going on there with those freaking Black Klansmen and shit.
Yeah.
Oof. Man. Well, not Black Klansmen. You know what I mean. Those guys that are dressed.
Black hooded clans.
They look like clans. Yeah, right.
They did, yeah.
Those guys. Woo, yeah, that's a good scene. I like that. And that's better. Every version shows more of that scene with the decapitations and everything else. And there's more to that scene.
I can't speak on the third version, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I've no.
Right. Yeah. But they do even more in the Cabal.
In the Laurie cut, it's just her singing at the bar for 2 hours.
Yeah, I wish I knew the lyrics.
And again, I think the part of my intrigue and always having a soft spot for this film too is, again, it was rated R in Canada, and I snuck in. So nothing beats that feeling of being able to see the movie that you really want to see, and you're being told you couldn't see it by the censor board, and actually getting to see it. So visually speaking, there's a lot going on here. It can be a little bit confusing. The makeup effects are a mixed batch. Like some of the monster effects are really good, and some of them are not, if I had to be totally honest. But I mean, there's a lot of them here.
When they're panning through them, especially when Laurie's kind of doing the tour,
the descent,
just kind of looking in everywhere into each room. So, some of them seem like they might have been a little rushed, but they still look creepy as hell.
Yep, I think for the most part.
Didn't one guy have like a head in it where his crotch was?
Yeah, he did. He had a long thing like that went down that connected his head to that area.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like it wasn't there. You could actually
see
a long
crotch
neck
head.
first, not a crotch head.
I'm a dickhead.
He never had to leave Midian. Midian.
There goes the neighborhood. I love this movie. There's so many lines in this movie that are, I don't know.
Meat for the Beast. We know we've quoted that on the show numerous times.
Dude, Peliquin, period, is fucking gold. I want a whole movie just of him. That could be a spinoff, because he, what a great character he is.
Yeah, and you get him in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then you don't see him until like an hour and 40 minutes in. It's crazy.
True, but you're always happy to see him. At least that's how I feel.
Well,
I would like more.
This is about Boone's journey, and then it's funny because the movie is called Nightbreed, so I guess it throws people off at the beginning. But maybe if it was called Cabal, and we're following this journey, the Nightbreed just happened to be the population of this area and whatnot. And
they should have just called it Boone's Journey and had "Don't Stop Believing" playing.
Well, the Nightbreed, man, that's a pretty. Come on, those things are great.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's such a cool name.
No, it's a great. I'm not shitting on it. It's great. I'm just trying to tell Brandon this is about Boone, and maybe if they focus too much on the creatures, our argument may have been they're focusing too much on the creatures now. Can never win, right? But this was about his journey.
Yeah. It's a good complaint for this movie. It's that it needed to be done in a different way. It needed to be a miniseries or a TV show, like Dave said. But
oh man, wouldn't it be great?
But visually, it's a very satisfying film, and from a story standpoint, like you said, Christian, there is enough there to get you through it and make you and let you enjoy it. But there's just more like I wish they'd done this and this and this than satisfaction in the end. Unfortunately, for me anyway.
And wasn't there a rumor that this was going to be a show? I thought about a year or two ago. We had posted something.
So.
Yeah, there were some rumblings.
Boone's Journey.
Well, Mr. Barker, if you're listening, if we do say so ourselves, try to get this into a miniseries.
I think it was going to be called Black Klansman and Decker.
Yeah.
How
Black
about
and Decker for short?
Black and Decker, nice.
Black and Decker.
Amazing. How about that though? Decker's mask and knife are amazing.
I love it.
I used to call him like Zipper Face for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just loved calling him Zipper. And that mask is awesome. Zipper Face.
Isn't it? And that knife. When do you see a knife like that? It's freaking great, dude. Who carries that around?
They do have action figures of him.
Oh yeah, just him. But I want one of Pelican and the porcupine girl and the black guy with the horns and every one of them.
Yeah, the breed.
I can't believe, huh?
The breed.
The breed. I want the freaking breed. How does nobody not have this out? Really? How come you can get every freaking thing at all these conventions and this and that and they got what's that ridiculous thing? The fog is a freaking thing. It's cotton and some other stupid shit that people can buy, right?
Yeah,
how about the Invisible Man, where it's just like an empty bag?
We should sell that.
I think somebody posted that once. It's like a joke. It's just like an empty container.
People would probably buy it just if it had the Invisible Man logo on it.
We haven't opened the package.
Nice. We can put a little gauze pad in there. A little
Not
piece
even.
to be his man.
You just glue a set of glasses to the back.
Dude, I'd collect the whole line of toys. I'd collect the whole line of toys for these. I would like a big Baphomet statue.
Well, we could have one set of glasses up like, as if he's wearing them, and then a broken set on the bottom, and then with a little thing said, "You just broke my glasses." It could be a whole tie-in.
Say that too. My glasses. Yeah. There should be one of him. There should be an action figure of that situation between the guy and the reporter, and you can press. You can press the button. You just body slam me.
Well,
That would be great. See, Exploding Heads needs to be a first tier show so we could put shit like this out. Man.
Marketing. We're marketing geniuses. I got to reread Cabal, and I want to now see if I could track down the comics because I want to see if they expand on the story or if it's just a retelling. But even a retelling, they might get into it more within the comic realm as well.
Yeah, I think why would they not? That's usually what those things do, for sure. Okay, one question here. How did the priest kill the freaking police chief? It happened so quick, I don't get it.
Didn't he picked him up by the throat?
It's nothing that should have killed him is what I'm saying. It was something so quick, and I'm like, the guy's dead, basically. He was like a big bad, and freaking all of a sudden he's like, I don't know.
It looked like he crushed his windpipe or something.
You think so?
Because didn't he spit out blood and then just that's it?
I don't know. I just remember it was just underwhelming.
It was underwhelming.
I don't know. I thought maybe I missed something. See, that's the story. That's the word today.
That's not a word. It's not a word in Canada.
Nope. Canada has their own language, their own iTunes, everything.
Maybe it became a word because of that famous song.
Yeah, some things do become a
Christine
word.
didn't send me a poster.
Leave Christine alone, damn it.
Yeah.
Yes, you know how some things become words? Like that word didn't exist. Closure didn't exist and people started using it, and then it got put into the dictionary. And then what was that other word? There's a word that George Bush. Yeah, that too. George Bush used the word once, and people think it's a word. Irregardless. There's no such word as irregardless, but he said it once when he was president, and people started saying it, irregardless. Anyway, whatever. I don't know how I got on that.
Well, so what's the verdict?
God is an astronaut. Oz is over the rainbow. Yeah, the whole nine. And Nightbreed.
And Meridian. Meridian
is where the monsters live. Meridian.
What are they? They're a health insurance plan?
Oh, one more thing. That scene is straight out of a slasher movie, and it's done so well in this one with that kid Arnie. Where's Arnie? And then you see his head on top of the thing, and then the girl's picking up. And why was she picking that freaking thing up piece by piece? That freaking nasty donut, whatever the hell it was.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Pick it up.
Yeah.
Dude, that pastry looked delicious. I would have done the same thing she did. I would have eaten it off the floor. That thing looked so good. I don't know what it was, but it was delicious. It looked like it had cream and jelly on it. I was just like, oh, that's fucking delicious. Pick it up off the floor, you piglet.
She did.
You little piglet. Eat it.
She did lick her fingers, too, so she even liked it. So that's...
Where's Arnie? Yeah.
And what about the quills? Why would that guy follow her? How are you going to make love to that freaking thing?
They were making love.
That's the word, man. You couldn't lay it on its back. It's got the quills. You know, you'd have to be... Wouldn't you be afraid to mess around with it? I mean, she was pretty, but...
She was. She's got a hairy chest, and she's still very attractive.
Yeah, isn't that weird how that works sometimes?
She's the complete opposite of Brandon.
We'd be a perfect couple.
He is the hairless wonder of the 21st century.
Yeah. He would be down there, too. He doesn't have any hair in his body.
Oh, I'm definitely Nightbreed.
Yeah.
I'm definitely Nightbreed.
Yeah, you can hang out with the guy with the dog. You love that kind of dog.
Oh, I would take the dog once he blew up.
Yeah. Yeah, the dog did run away, poor thing. Oh, that was sad. And how about the Berserkers? Don't you think that that's what Rawhead Rex should have looked like? Or what it's supposed to look like?
Yeah, it's so funny that when those guys come out, I think of those monsters at the end of In the Mouth of Madness as well, that start coming and chasing them down the portal back to reality.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, they're great.
The question is, you know, these creatures are so unpredictable and so dangerous. What happened after the battle? Where'd they go?
They had to get a new home, so they're hiding out in the meantime.
No, but where are the Berserkers?
Oh, they're at the bar. They're all chilling out and having a beer.
Because the Berserkers aren't in the barn. It's not like they rounded them back up.
Yeah.
So they're going to be looking for a new home. They don't have to wait very long. They can live in the world once these Berserkers end up killing everyone in town.
Wow.
There's so much that can be built upon on this, and that's why it would be great. I don't know. I think the only way they could follow this up now is through miniseries, like what we're seeing with like Creep Show or What's Old is New Again. And I think if there's enough interest, that's where we will get a follow-up and maybe an expanded universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Man, that'd be so cool.
Well,
Oof, anyway.
And again, I was really high on this back in the day. I possibly would have probably given it a 9.5, 10, but I still, like I said, there's messy moments, but I adore it. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Yes, I am actually with you. I'm in an 8 out of 10 too, and I probably at one point, I echo everything you say, and I'm with you there. Yep, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I had to be careful with this one because my thoughts about what it could have been makes me want to give it a super high score. But for what it was and what we got ultimately in the end, a solid 7.5 out of 10.
Nice. Oh, one more question. How could they have been driving around town in that car? Nobody could see. You know what I'm talking about? The Nightbreed car?
Yeah.
Oh, when they go to pick up Boone?
Yeah. I never thought about that before. They pull up in this dirty thing. Nobody can see anything. And yeah, they're just rolling through town like it's casual. Nobody cares. What the fuck? Oh, that's funny.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Again, like I said, even though I only rated it 8 out of 10, I can still say that I love it, and it's still a comfort movie for me. It's just one of those, but I wanted to come objectively. You know what I mean? And,
Same here.
Yeah.
Because I do think it was like a 10 back in the day. Like again, I'm going by, it's the experience, right? So I guess it's nostalgia. It's like seeing that forbidden fruit, if you will, in the theater when I wasn't supposed to be able to, which always drove me crazy. Seeing it there with a good friend, and then just embracing it on video, and then, like I said, grabbing the laser, and so many times I watched this movie over and over.
The laser. Was that the forbidden fruit that was rolling on the floor?
Yeah.
That's why he killed her. You can't eat this. This is forbidden fruit.
Nice.
All right. Well, that was a solid review. Should we
Indeed.
get into a triple R?
Yeah, man.
All right. Let's jump into the pig pen with 1973's Pigs, a.k.a. Daddy's Deadly Darling, a.k.a. the 13th Pig.
Yes, and the 13th Pig is great just for novelty.
Yeah.
I love that. Daddy's Deadly Darling would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah. Because
yeah,
the pigs are not the villains here. Like, pigs makes it sound like it's killer pigs.
Right. Right. This is like Motel Hell, you think. When you see the first act, you think that this guy's like a farmer Vincent and he's doing this, and that's actually not even explained. There's all these suspicions in the beginning. Is something at hand here? But with this guy, is he doing something or is he not? Because it seems like it's very suspicious, everything that happens in the beginning, but then the movie gets turned on its ass, and then we see what happens later. But that's my question. Is there anything going on? And pardon me for not saying the name right. What the hell is his name? The farmer, the lead guy. Zambrini. How could I forget that? Okay, so was Zambrini up to no good or not? Do you guys know? Because honestly, looking back, I'm like, it seemed like he was. I mean, eventually he aided, and he did what he did to help out, the girl. But I mean,
no, I think it was like assholey neighbors. I think he was just like a quirky guy who lived by himself that took this girl under her wing and became a father figure to her and wanted to protect her. And I think they play around with that, but I never suspected that there was anything quirky other than the fact that he aids her later.
You know what? It's an interesting question. I don't know. I think either way, I could accept it. I've never really thought about it, but I think the fact that she connects with him, she even calls him out on somebody who's I forgot the exact line she says, but she says something to him like, she sees like his sadness or something, or sees, like his, basically his regret for his life or something, that he missed out on like the life he wanted because he was a circus clown like Christian.
That's his promotion, yes.
And when they show him as a clown, it looked exactly like Art the Clown to me.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I can see that.
It looked a little bit like Art. But I just thought this movie is surprisingly a really good character piece. They are very good together, Zambrini and Lynn. And yeah. I think she does a terrific job. I really do. I think it's subtle enough where you're not really sure for a while what's going on.
To give some context to this and without going scene by scene.
I didn't even give a yes.
Well, but it's a fairly straightforward movie. So ultimately it's about a woman who escapes from an institution and hits the road running and ends up at this farm. Is there a reason why she goes back to the farm? Like this, there's no connection. This is not, she didn't grow up there or anything like that. She just
she said she saw the sign. She was driving and she saw the sign. So
that was it.
She saw the sign that there's a room there or a job, whatever it was, and that's it. In the synopsis on Wikipedia, and of course, this is not, it's Wikipedia, so whatever. It does say, she takes refuge in a local diner inhabited by a man named Zambrini and his pig pen of human flesh-eating pigs. So evidently, whoever wrote that is under the assumption that Zambrini is feeding his pigs human flesh, and with Macy and what's the other crazy neighbor's name? Miss Macy and whatever her the other one's name is. You don't know.
It's not true. I think it's kind of like a psycho. Instead of her stealing money and instead of the killer being the guy, and maybe that's what they're trying to allude to, but they set it up with her escaping from the asylum. So we know right away that she's got some issues and she's running away. So she's running away like Marion Crane, but she gets to this place and very slowly we build on it, and then she ends up killing somebody. It's a killing with some sort of sexual brutality to it based on what has happened to her in the past. And that's where I think the guy just becomes her father figure, and instead of treating her the way her real father did, actually protects her and feeds the dead body to the pigs as knowing that it will get rid of the body. What we learned at the end is not 100%, but enough that no one is suspecting it later on. I think the nosy neighbors were just a way to make him look like he was more shady this has been going on for a while, but I really don't think that he was killing anybody. I really don't think that. I think he just helped somebody.
But they, you know what? You might be right, but there's also just a few scenes and just certainly the way he acts, just to suggest that maybe there is something more, and maybe even something supernatural, because they do have that nightmare image of him as the clown, the neighbors. Yeah. And they wake up screaming, and you just wonder, like, what is Zambrini up to something? Is he a catalyst for it? And certainly the way it ends suggests something, supernatural. They talk.
I think he was protecting them. I think he was protecting them at all right till the end, until she did what she did, and then it goes the way it goes. I'm being cryptic here. Why are we not spoiling this movie yet? We were spoiling Nightbreed left, right, and
spoil
center.
pigs. I mean, spoil pigs. Spoiled pigs! Don't eat the spoiled pigs!
I mean, I had to watch this on YouTube, too, so it wasn't on, like, Amazon or anything for me.
I actually own this movie. Wow. I'm a big fan of this movie. Someone suggested that I buy it. I blind bought it, and I've become a really big fan of this movie for some reason.
Shit! Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, it just...
It's a nice small film.
Bored by it, but there's something that's a charm about it, and I think the performances are really terrific, and the soundtrack and the score.
Oh God, the music, the freaking song that they're playing.
Keep on driving down the road, that one or whatever. Like,
no, I'm talking about like the childlike eerie music and the songs that she's playing.
Oh yeah,
like,
or that she's singing.
And the conversation.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that type of stuff. I mean, the opening song "Driving Down the Road" it's catchy, but it's severely dated, of course. But
it's also it's severely directed within the storytelling. But I love that when they're like drive down the road, get away type thing. Like you never know what's down there too. Like I mean, the lyrics were
fine. That's
great.
That feels like 70s horror to me.
No, and I wasn't bored of this at all. I didn't think that this was boring. I mean, it takes a while to get going until it takes a little while to get going. The second half is definitely much better.
Yes. You know what it reminds me of in a way, and I think I know you're a big fan of this one, and you may or may not agree, but it kind of has a feel like the pacing, like Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? How all of a sudden she goes haywire in the third act.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminds me of a little bit. But how come they're saying that they're dead people? those pigs, they're dead people. The way they talk about it at the beginning, it's like it's supernatural.
Well, that's what Brandon was saying, right?
They're setting it up that way, and they're dead people, and then at the end with the extra pig and everything, it's like what the hell? Maybe there was a supernatural element. They're just adding enough there to intrigue you. Like, what's this supernatural? What's going on? Is she a pig?
How about the cop when he said dead people have no civil rights?
Yeah, the sheriff was funny. Even Miss Macy. Miss Macy had a funny line. She says to the sheriff at one point, she says, tell the doctor, because the doctor comes to see him, and she says to the sheriff, tell the doctor I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. And the sheriff says to her, and she says, check on Zambrini. And the sheriff says to that Zambrini has rights. And Miss Macy says, what rights? I'm the one who's sick. Right after she told them to tell the doctor, I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me.
Oh, you're right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I thought that was a funny line.
That is funny.
I didn't even think of the supernatural, but I thought it was thrown in there just to have like the nosy neighbors that always think that there's something going wrong beside there. But yeah, maybe there's something more to it.
Definitely. I think there is. I can't explain why. What's up with the 13th pig?
Well, the 13th pig thing is definitely a big question mark as well.
Yeah, and that's the name of the movie.
They talked about it for a little bit about what the mythical gods and something about worshiping pigs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I wish I had written that down because that was the only little bit they explained about it, talking about it, and certainly referencing dead people turning into pigs when they're killed.
Yeah, I think it was the Egyptians or something. You said worship pigs. Can that be true? I don't know. Well, whatever. How about that dog? I knew something was going to happen with that dog because they kept showing the relationship between that guy and that dog, and everything's going on. I was like, well, you know what's going to happen here. And sure enough, it did. And how about that guy? Freaking when he takes her out and he's trying to mess with her and the sheriff shows up and he's like, oh, sorry about that light. And he goes, yeah, I bet you are. He told him. was great. There are some unintentional funny moments to me, which I think for me it moved slower than I did for you guys. I just, it was okay. I think you guys are going to come in higher, but it did move kind of slow, but they did have some of those funny moments. The second act, see, to me that was a reveal because I'm an idiot. When Christian said something which is extremely obvious, that in the beginning she's running away from the asylum, for some reason it didn't register when I watched the movie. So to me, it was a reveal that she escaped an asylum later on in the movie. So
well, when she dumps, the clothes at the beginning,
I know.
It looks like it could be a nurse's uniform for all.
Right, I thought it was.
Actually, it was a nurse. I'm sorry, it was a nurse's uniform. So you could just
But that's
think
how
she's
she
on
got
the
out.
run.
I thought that's how she got out of the hospital.
That is how she got out.
Yeah,
you could just think that, maybe she's just running from, an abusive relationship or something. You don't have to necessarily think she's crazy.
Right.
You get the assumption that she's off, but I don't think you get the assumption that she's a killer until she is. And even when she kills, it's almost like it's not her. It's really like, it's tragic because it's a result of this trauma of being, a sexual abuse victim as a child, being raped by her father.
Yeah, it's fucked up. So the beginning reminded me of Motel Hell. Granted, this was way before, but I'm saying it had that vibe where, the older guy and the younger girl, and she came to the place, and it's a farm, and there's pigs. You know what I mean? So I bet the Motel Hell people saw this movie and based something off of that, but that was kind of the vibe I got. And Motel Hell also moves kind of slow, but
I think she was just on the verge of a breakdown. I mean, obviously she was in a mental institution, and when she gets out, she finds comfort with Zambrini. He's really nice to her, takes care of her. But then, once she has her encounter with Ben and everyone else from there on out, it just sort of like she snaps. And even when people show up that care about her, like the guy who shows up on behalf of the doctor to bring her back, like she's all like, oh, I'd love to see him, and oh, they do miss me and stuff like that. And it's it's kind of sad. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll go back. And then Zambrini says, I'd like you to stay. And she's like, okay. And then she kills the doctor. It's like, it's crazy, sad.
There's so many different variations of this, like not just the titles. Supposedly there was one that featured a 3-minute introduction depicting Tori Lawrence's character, portrayed, of course, by a different actress, similar looking, though, they said, being possessed and the subject of an exorcism, ending with her bolting from the room. And this was called Love Exorcist and also Blood Pen. And then there's another version that said that a new ending with that she fakes her own death. Well, maybe that's this one, because isn't that what he finds? He finds that. Are you to suspect that he thinks that she was eaten by the pigs as well, because he has the necklace, and then she bolts out with the car and picks up that guy that reminds her of her daddy?
Yeah.
Is that what you're supposed to get from that ending, where the guy's handed that we found this and he holds it? So was she like? What was the implication there? Were they thinking she died?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Wow, right. We're all stumped on that, huh? I guess it's not clear cut. I don't know, and I'll be honest, I can't remember completely. So,
well, I just can't believe how many different versions of this there are. It's kind of crazy. It was filmed in 8 days, and I guess in that day and age, it probably they tried to get as much traction as they possibly could. So they titled it different ways and had different versions. But,
yeah, that's weird though. That's an awful lot for one film. Speaking of different versions, not speaking of different versions, but it just popped out in my head about the Italian blood. Totally Italian blood in this movie, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me think of Italian movies and different names and different versions. How they all have weird names overseas and shit.
I totally forgot about that, Christian. I definitely had read that before about the Exorcist part at the beginning, the exorcism part.
It's so bizarre, but that doesn't fit this movie at all.
No,
I don't even know how they could have wedged that in. I still don't get. I'm going to have to read up about the 13th pig. I didn't realize it was that there was that much to it. But I mean. It's definitely interesting. There's good here. Dave, I'm not super high, but I was just surprised at how much I enjoyed it overall. I would say that after the intro and after you get to know the guy a little bit more, he's great. The farmer guy's great. It's just that it does, I don't want to say drag, but it is a bit slow until you get to that kill. And then I think from that point to the end, it's really just go, go, go.
Yeah. I agree. It just took a little long to get there for me. It's just slow paced. You know.
I don't know. It moved for me. It's a very short film.
Yeah, true. It is only an hour.
I like the characters. 20. I wasn't looking at it for gore effects. I thought the screaming of the pigs was haunting enough. And,
how about that scene when the girl and the pig are screaming and squealing at the same time?
Yeah.
I love that.
Great scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big character piece person. I don't know. I like it, and I really, I don't want to say connected with these characters, but I like the arc of these characters, and you really kind of felt for them, for both of them, for Zambrini and for Lynn.
Well, I agree. It didn't help my situation that I watched this movie in 3 sittings. That's how limited my time is, and thank goodness we only have 2 more shows where we have to watch more than 3 movies.
Yeah.
Because I watched the first 20 minutes here, then I watched 40 minutes on my phone while my daughter was seeing a counselor in the freaking waiting room, and then I watched the rest, back at the house the next day. So that's just the way. That's the sad reality that it is right now for watching movies. And again, a couple more shows that won't be that way, and awesome. But maybe that affected it. That does happen sometimes. You ever watch a movie halfway through and then stop and go back, and then all of a sudden, because you weren't in that zone of being in that movie, it's
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that might have been to a deterrent for me. It might not be the movie's fault. It's most likely my fault. So happens.
Yeah, that's okay. I love the reveal, even though you can kind of pick up on it. I love the when she's talking to an empty phone line at the end.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah,
you know what it reminds me of?
What?
No, sorry, B.
No, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
It took me back to Blackcoat's daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, Blackcoat's daughter was way later, but I saw it first. But that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, dude, that was sad. That whole thing.
Yeah.
See, and it's that age-old thing. Do you have pity for these people because they're not right in the head when they go and they kill somebody? How do you feel about that? And that's the question that people all have different answers to.
Look, this is just a movie, so I didn't try to relate to anything in real life. But for the sake of this movie, I really connected with these characters, even though they ended up killing and chopping people up. And even when she kills Zambrini at the end, they're not right, and he's almost like okay with it, like he still wants to protect her, and he still loves her, even though she killed him. He's trying to get her to leave.
Yeah.
He's just all he's doing, trying to protect her, and he doesn't. He never gets nasty with her, except at the very beginning. He gets a little, hey, what are you doing? But
that was him. That was his character, and that's why he said then he becomes her father figure.
Yeah.
You're right. There is some good stuff. Like I said, it's not by any means great, but for a movie that costs $100,000, shot in 8 days back in the early '70s, there's some good stuff here.
I just enjoy it more than probably most people do. And she was the director's daughter. Yeah. Lynn. And
really?
And she was married to Billy Bob Thornton for a little while.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. That's cool.
Piece of useless trivia.
I like that though. He's got good taste, Billy Bob Thornton.
Hell yeah.
Going by his wives that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Now he's done okay for himself.
Speaking of that, that's going to tie in a little bit to something that happens in the next movie. What do you think of that? No one knows what I'm talking about, but you will. But you will. You will. So how high are you, Brandon? I'm curious here.
7.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. I'm 6.5. I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not like a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay.
No, it's a 7, but it's a 7.5 that I love. I'm glad I own it. I've even come up. I think at one point I was giving this like a 6.5 and still saying I loved it. But I recognize it's not,
I'm with Dave. I was going to say 6.75, but no, 6.5 is right. There's some good stuff, and it's worth a watch.
Nice. I love when we do that. It's like I'm talking, 2 of us are talking, well, 3 of us are talking, but one guy comes off one way and one guy comes off another way, and at the end it's the same rating. It's like me and C on this one. I love when we do that. It happens a lot, man.
Well, a rating is just sort of like a guide at the end of the day. Who gives a fuck? I mean, we're just trying to give you an idea of what we think. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I gotta be honest with me with rating films. I feel like sometimes I'm all over the place. Like I don't really know. Sometimes I get done rating a movie and I think I'm like, did I rate that right? Like I don't know. Like, but at the end of the day, I really enjoy this film, and I think people should check it out if they haven't. Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's
awesome.
Pigs. Right on. So now we're going back into another feature.
Yes.
And, well, we already know that we're ending with Videodrome, so that's going to lead us to The Descent.
Next up, The Descent from 2005, written and directed by Neil Marshall. A caving expedition goes horribly wrong as the explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators.
A strange breed, indeed.
Indeed.
All right. A Nightbreed to a strange breed. And all our movies are connected in one way, shape, or form tonight. Not all, but the three main runs. It's kind of interesting.
Indeed.
We got the Cronenberg connection. We got the Canada connection. We got underground people in Nightbreed, and we have underground people in this movie. So
there is connections. Yeah, left, right, and center.
Yep. And we have the Tomb Raider connection. Because I was just saying last movie about, Billy Bob Thornton's exes, and I was talking about the Queen, Miss Jolie herself, Tomb Raider. And yeah. You know what I mean? And I ventured, no, she's not close to that territory, but Juno is a pretty decent replacement for Angelina as a Tomb Raider. I can say that.
So who gave us this one again? This movie?
Neil Marshall.
The Descent was given to us from the Ram Man. The Descent and Nightbreed are from the Ram Man. And
you better have changed your fucking tune on this film.
I really cannot wait.
Oh, well, that was it, because I told Eric Webster that, I didn't tell him anything. He said that he really wanted me to check this out again, too, and we were waiting to do it. So thanks to the Ram Man, it's now been done. And my tune has definitely changed.
Nice.
I'll open that. I'll just say I don't know.
Open it wide
for this movie. I don't know what was. I think I've mentioned it before. I think it was the company I was with, and I was really tired because I jokingly said I fell asleep, but it wasn't a joke. I did fall asleep when they're chit chatting. That chit chatting is literally the first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie tops. And I mean, it's not long at all. And then they were going into the cave, and I was in and out, and then I wasn't invested into the film, and I didn't give it a fair shake, and I came off with a half-assed memory of what it was. It is an absolute gorgeous movie. I'm talking about the cinematography, the women, everything about it. It's great.
Oh.
I love it. Everything you said, I agree with, and I even feel like the chit chat, that scene, even though it's like. What is it, like probably like a 5-10 minute scene tops, it does everything to establish what you need to know about these characters.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't filler, and I was just saying I don't know what I was going on about. I feel like I was so wrong about this movie, not even just mildly wrong, but so wrong about the movie.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like you were too.
Now I feel like I got to watch Dog Soldiers again too, because I didn't remember liking that one at all either. So I'm like, maybe I'm just not a Neil Marshall fan.
I enjoy Dog Soldiers, but I think this is on another level of everything, of filmmaking, of everything. Like I initially, I know what you're saying about being turned off a little bit in the beginning for any reason. Did you put on the subtitles or no?
No, I don't find the accents off-putting. Is that where you find them hard to understand?
I watch subtitles to everything.
I watch subtitles about 50% of the time, so I feel you. In something like this, I was like 2 minutes in. I said, oh, yeah, I got to put on the subs because the accents will take me out of it sometimes if I don't understand every word or whatever. So it helps me stay into the plot more so I don't miss a beat.
100% of the times for me, it's subtitles, and it always was. But if it wasn't always, it certainly would have been after the Puppet Master Littlest Reich review.
But I made the same mistake. And how crazy is that? When you said that, I thought that was the guy's name. So you weren't the only one. Maybe it was the copy we had because we had it sent to us, the screener, video screener from somebody. Maybe just had bad sound or something. Because
we had the racially inappropriate copy.
I don't know what to tell you, but that's what he said.
Yeah,
it's fine. No one knows what we're talking about because it was totally edited out of the episode.
The only time I ever asked you to edit something out.
Yeah.
Because usually whatever we say just fucking stays, but the only time.
It's no big deal. It wasn't.
It's an innocent error.
He called himself that, so it wouldn't be bad. We just thought that the guy that goes by the name of Cuddly Bear was calling himself Colored Bear. It's true. It's nothing to be ashamed of because I thought it too, and I thought I was the only one, and I thought it was kind of a weird name, and I was waiting for someone else to say it, and then B said it, and I'm like, okay, so it's not me. And then other people I heard, I think Christian might have corrected us on the show, or maybe I heard another podcast and they called him Cuddly Bear, but I thought he was saying Colored Bear. It was just.
I'm like, yeah, well, he is a colored bear.
Well, I could be called Colored Bear. It wouldn't have to be something racial.
No,
you know what
that's
I mean?
true.
It's the name, Colored Bear. Why not? You know. But anyway, that's another. We said that ship is sailed and sunk. You know.
You know what? I love this film.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Six super strong female lead characters that not one of them really makes any stupid choices, with the exception of one character, and it's a little thing, and I don't blame her for doing it, and we'll get to that. Actually, I'll just say it's Holly's reaction when she sees the light, just to dart out and start, racing at full speed in the cave.
But that makes sense considering the situation.
Exactly. That's why I could forgive it, because it's like, they're at that point, it's like they're really scared at this point. They want any bit of light. But that opening sequence, I love the rafting sequence.
Oh, what the rafting sequence is great, only followed by that accident. And knowing that the accident is caused by him thinking about the other girl, the husband, and being distracted. Oh, and then getting that thing through his head.
Oof.
Mwah.
And just seeing the second one and seeing the trajectory and where it lines up, I mean, it went through the little girl. I mean, it's perfectly lined up there, but without showing it. Oof.
Right.
Roots.
I want to skip not to the end. I want to ask a question pertaining to the end, because I saw one version for years on DVD, and then I remember seeing the unrated director's cut somewhere else. It wasn't the blue that I have now, which is stunning, by the way.
Yeah.
But let me say this. I saw another version that ended a different way. And then I watched this blue for the first time in a while the other day, thinking, because I was watching the unrated, that it was going to have that piss poor ending. And no, it had the ending that ended in the cave with the birthday cake. And then
unrated,
that's the real version.
The unrated is the UK ending.
Yeah.
And the theatrical is the U.S. They made that piss poor cut because they said for U.S. audience they felt it was a little too dark of an ending. But
wait a minute. Let me interrupt you. When I saw the movie at the theater, the original ending was that. It was the birthday cake thing.
No, I always remember the jump scare, and I always said they never gave you closure. Well, I don't remember them giving you closure or feeling like they gave you closure on that whole birthday cake thing, because there wasn't the payoff of her staring into like nothingness.
Right.
The descent.
Yeah.
That's how it ended when I saw it at the theater. Then when it came the DVD, they had some other ending. They still had the same jump in both scenes, but then it was just like inconsequential that she got out and she had a jump. But then when I got this blue and I watched it this time, it brought back that original ending. That's my recollection of it.
Oh, no, they made her escape in the US version, and you're led to believe that she escaped.
Yeah.
And then you're left with the feeling, well, she's traumatized forever anyway, because now not only she lost her husband and a daughter, but she just lost all of her friends and was responsible for one or two of their deaths, one way or the other. So she's done.
True.
And then, but it was that jump scare where it's even more haunting, I think, having her in the cave with no exit. When that pans out, there's no exit.
So you guys agree
the unrated is way better.
Well, because I don't remember the birthday cake coming into the end of the U.S. version. I could be wrong because I only saw it once in the theater. But so this one, and said, okay, now they revealed the birthday cake, and maybe they did do the reveal, but it just didn't have the same impact because it was missing the shot of her just staring out, and it's just her torch that's lit, and her looking at nothing. But in her head, she feels like she's been rejoined with her daughter.
I just went to both endings on the Blu-ray before, and the rated ending, which was the U.S., just ends with the jump scare, which is a typical U.S. thing to do, and then the U.K. version just has her waking up in the cave and the birthday cake and staring into the void.
Maybe I'm mistaken. Where at the theater it was one thing. Then the first home release, they showed the new release. They showed the new ending with the cake. And then I saw it another way, and they took it out, and I was bummed out about it. And then I saw this, hoping it was going to be the right ending, and it was. So it just could be me seeing it 4 different times and having, I don't know, mishmashed in there. But let me ask you guys this. Let me just say, I want to pose one question, and we don't have to talk about the ending anymore. I just want to say.
That's what we're here for.
Do you look at that as a positive or a negative? Do you look at that as she has snapped and lost her mind and she's hallucinating and she's probably going to die soon and that's part of what's going on? Or do you look at it as she has died and now she is reunited with her child?
First one.
Yeah, but there's in her mind though she feels like she's reunited, but she snapped. Either version and either ending, she could be responsible for everything.
Right.
You could argue that she's responsible for like everything, and there were no monsters whatsoever. There's a couple. There's a couple of things I don't like. That's that.
No, why would she be
That's the
there?
Brandon Orlick.
No, and I was gonna say that's a me type of interpretation, but not
Mental
even
illness.
I could go there.
Yeah.
Not even I could go there. I love that this is a creature feature.
Oh yeah.
But it's also, a character study, but it's a perfect blend of the two.
Man.
Yeah, a
And I'll
psychological character study, I should say.
You guys have the blue or no?
I have a Blu-ray of the first one, DVD of the second.
Okay,
I
you have
don't. I
blue-
don't have it. No.
Let me tell you guys, this blue, I have probably 1,000 Blu-rays in my collection. I would say that this is one of the top 10 best-looking movies I own, and I didn't know it until I watched it the other day for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years on my new system and everything. But I was blown away by how good this thing looked in every way, shape, and form. It was like someone could have said this is a 4K and I would have believed them.
But there's some
You know
really
what?
great colors in it.
Dude, the colors popped. The greens and the reds, beautiful.
Plus, I mean, the framing of the landscapes and the caves and just the way they I mean, the way they start with the outdoor scenes, at the beginning of them rafting and then showing, like, the mountains and the vast openness of it,
gorgeous.
and then going into the caves, like it's like that, like it's almost like that intentional juxtaposition, and it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. And Dave, I'll go once or for Dave, because I remembered you not arguing this, but discussing this on 47 meters down when you're saying how the fear of you underwater with a breathing apparatus and being worried. My claustrophobia in this movie was at an all-time. I'm watching it. I'm squirming in my seat, and I'm at home watching it. I can't. When they're squeezing through, I'm like, I'm not doing that. There's no way I could do that. And then she gets stuck. In that one point, and she starts hyperventilating. I'm like, that's me. I just die right there. Dude,
I'm not even
gone.
claustrophobic, and at that point, I'm freaking out. Every time they popped their head up through the water, when they came through that little opening, and they were like in the water, and they popped their head up, they showed each person coming up through there, and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't watch this.
Dude,
so tense.
Oof. And I said that on that I remember seeing this movie in the theater and being bugged out when she got stuck, because half of the reason she got stuck is panic and because of the things she's been through. And okay, now of course this is what's going to happen to me now. And in the situation, she's uncomfortable for many reasons, and she's stuck. And then when you panic, it makes matters worse, and then you run out of air. So I remember having that feeling watching it in the theater. But the other day I'm watching it, my wife is next to me for that scene, and my words basically were, fuck that. Fuck going underground like that. No way. And she goes, you wouldn't do it? I said, no, and I will not go underwater. I said, no. When it comes to breathing, no, I'm bugged out about it. So it hit me too, man.
Here are my whys, though, and it's a good time to bring it up, specifically for this one. My one why. Why would they let that in? Well, she said she had some experience, but she was most likely the least experienced of the group when it came to this. Why would they let her go through last? Other than for dramatic progression, why would they make her be the last one?
Are you saying Sarah was the least experienced?
Well, she said, she did say, wasn't she the character that said, I've done this before? It's not like I've never done this before.
Yeah,
when they're going in. But like, why wouldn't you think that they would make one of the more experienced ones? Like, they've got a few of them there that were really into it. So one should have been at the beginning, one should have been at the end. They let her go last.
You got Juno and Becca, who are really the leaders, and I get a sense that Sarah and even Beth and even Holly, to an extent, even though she probably hasn't done this, but she is a daredevil, all have experience. To me, the least qualified seems like the sister who wants to be a doctor. Sarah seemed like she's fine. It seemed like, why would you let her go last? Because she's like
traumatic
still
stuff.
Still not right in the head.
Well, exactly.
After it's been a year, but I feel like she's definitely had experience.
Okay, well then I put in experience, but it's also for the traumatic experience as well that she said. So I just said, again, that's for dramatic progression because of the fact she gets stuck. They got to get her out there, and then the cave collapse. So I understand from a flow of story and to get it to the next level. But it was just one of my whys because I feel like they wouldn't have let her do that. No, trust me, it's a minor thing in the big picture. How did they find out about this cave? It wasn't claimed, even though they find out that there's some paraphernalia down there that's like hundreds of years old or
that's
whatnot.
such an awesome scene too when they see the old hook that's wedged in there. And,
yep, but
like just it's so great. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense too because Becca plays the responsible one who she even told like the rescue people where they would be going into the caves and stuff, and then it's Juno who's the one who tricks them all, and they're not at Borum Caves or at this new location that she heard about that has been undiscovered and undescended. Uncharted.
Yeah,
she calls it is it undiscovered? It's
she says it's undiscovered because it's a new system, and they want to, and they thought she could give her name, and then she's like, yeah, more like your name or whatever. But that exchange, like, how did she even know that existed? And if it did exist, don't you think these guys, those thrill seekers, that would have been the first thing they jumped down into, knowing that there was something uncharted or undescended. So I just, again, suspension of disbelief in thinking that they were able to get there first.
You're right. I never thought about that. Like, if Juno knew that it was a new system, then other people would know it was a new system, etc. Why wouldn't they go?
Again,
That's
it's
true.
the story, but exactly.
Yeah, story. Unless there was danger there, and it said, no one goes there because it's not possible. You're probably not going to live through it. But why would she be so bold as to make that big of a leap?
It's pretty remote. I mean, and the Appalachian is so huge. So I don't think it's probably that far-fetched, not for me anyway, to imagine that she found this really obscure location that clearly hasn't been claimed and she just assumes hasn't been explored.
Look, so I'm the one that usually doesn't come up with these questions, and I'm always like marvels at Dave, like going, well, how do you think? And again, I didn't want to shit on this. I was like watching this going, this is fucking fantastic. And it was like from, right from the get-go. And so I'm like, this is great. I'm enjoying this. Man, I'm an asshole for not revisiting this for so long. But these things did pop in my head. Nothing crazy. I'm not shitting on the movie, but those were the two I call them my whys. Why?
Yeah, they're good whys. They are. They're good. You're not shitting on the movie at all. That's you know what? It's not going to affect my rating, but I'll tell you what. It's something to ponder, especially the second one about because why would nobody else have done it before? So I do get it. I don't know, but it's a new system. It's kind of like, the Dagobah system or something.
But now, Yoda's down there. I call these guys ghoulies that didn't go to college because I was trying to be all witty. They don't look like, you're absolutely like, they don't look like them at all. I was just being an asshole in my original review. And they are creepy as fuck. And those scenes where like he's pretty much has one hand on her head and he's like standing up atop, like I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And this movie's freaking gory.
Yeah,
yes.
That bone popping out.
I even gave it kudos back in the day. I said that scene was cringe-inducing in a good way, like in a oh my god, I can't take this.
This is bloody. This is a really bloody movie. That scene where I would call it iconic, especially if more people see it. That scene where Sarah rises in the pool of blood, like that is just.
Made me think of Apocalypse Now.
Iconic. Made you think of what?
Apocalypse Now. It wasn't blood that Martin Sheen came out of, but that's it was like the direct comparison I could think of visually.
Much like that.
Yeah, but it's great. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great. Yeah, it's fantastic.
What badass fighting scenes between Juno and the creatures, Sarah and the creatures.
Yes.
Juno's fucking amazing.
Well, her mistake there. She's the one that punches the friend through the neck. Like, that's forgivable. It's her leaving her there. That was, like, she was in full adrenaline attack mode. No fight. And that was just a reaction. Could happen to any of us. The downfall is, like, her reaching out and saying, help me. And her saying, oh, well. And just sort of crying her way back and getting out of there.
Yeah. It's you know what? Go ahead.
Go ahead, B. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you could almost forgive almost every single thing in this movie given the situations that everyone is in. Like at the end, it's almost tragic, even for every character, even for Juno, because even though she left her, and that's a shitty thing to do, there was no like maliciousness in that, and she panicked, and even when she's telling Sarah, she's dead, you could see there's a look on her face that she messed up. Like she's not like ha, I left her for dead.
Well, no, of course not, but. It almost reiterated her selfishness of A, cheating on her best friend with her husband, and B, now this, which is a totally like elevated level of fuck you. survival mode kick in, and I thought the girl was slitting her own neck at first. You know, with that keychain. I thought that's what she was doing to like try to finish the job herself. I'm like, because she gets up at one point, and you see the blood firing out of her neck.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Listen, this is what's great about this movie is that the characters that are in it, what they do makes sense to me. Like Juno, it makes sense to me that she would leave her, and that's because she already has enough guilt. She honestly has guilt. Yes, she is still mourning the death of that guy because she says something earlier. You know, we all lost something in that accident, and that's a double entendre. I mean, she lost obviously one of her best friend's child and her best friend's sanity, so to speak. And of course, she's talking about her feelings for her husband or her friend's husband, and I get that. But the thing about that is, I think that she feels guilty enough, and she really genuinely wants to have this to rekindle all of them and maybe in her own way make things up, you know, to Sarah. To even say, I think she was genuine in saying that. I'm thinking maybe we can name this thing after you.
100%. 100%.
Yes, because she has guilt about what happened with him. So I think that I think the reason she left her friend is because she has a guilty conscience as is. And if she didn't, I think that the fear of that being discovered, or, you know, because even though it was an accident, if that girl lives to tell and goes and tells these other girls this, oh, Juno stabbed me, she's going to think that they're automatically going to vilify her just because she has a guilty conscience. That's why I think that move makes sense. That's all I'm saying. If somebody has something like that happen, I would never do that. I like to think you guys wouldn't, but I mean, I understand the reason behind it because she already has a guilty conscience. I think she feels shitty. And she's afraid of losing all her friends. And if this girl says, hey, by the way, and she knew her dirty little secret.
Yeah, Beth knew, yeah.
So if she knew, who knows who else knew? So they already might have issues with this girl, with Juno. And she's like, maybe she made one mistake and she shouldn't. But now if these other girls are aware that she's messed around with Sarah's husband and now killed this girl and they don't understand why, then she's vilified completely.
Well, they're the main three. I feel like, Becca and Sam are sort of like, I don't want to say secondary friends, but like secondary friends.
You think so? I think it's all of them partying together or taking those adventures together all the time. I think
I think it's Beth, Juno, and Sarah. That's why they start with the rafting trip, showing that it's built between them. The big
just
relationship.
Them?
Yeah, I feel it's just them on that.
Okay, well then you're probably right. I thought it was all. I wasn't.
You know that there are arguments or are people out there that do like the idea of it being all in her mind, and she was the one that went on the killing spree.
Yeah,
and even Neil Marshall says that he's not against that theory. It's not maybe his intent, but he's got enough in there, or he put even enough in there that he could allow people to have that thought process too. I'm actually a sucker for taking things at face value quite often, so I just take it as a monster movie.
I heard you take a lot of things at face level. Oh, face value. Sorry.
Yeah. You what a jerk, Balchinian son of a bitch. But when she pops, the only thing I don't want to say hate, but going back to that ending, which is so great and haunting and upsetting, when she's just in that cave by herself at the end with her torch staring into nothing, and that's where it ends. The only thing about that I don't like is it takes away from her rebirth, if you will, and her resurrection of coming up through the ground and out. And I think that's such a great feeling. It's almost like you almost feel like she's like I said, she's reborn, only then to only not get away and to be stuck down there and in hell. I don't know if I broke up.
I mean, I get that scene. It's almost like like giving birth to a new version of Sarah. But even if that's the way it ended, it's not a better version by any means.
Well, no,
it's a completely broken, destroyed version.
She's out, but yeah, that's exactly it. Based on what she's gone through, you're right. She's not reborn into anything positive.
Yeah, I mean, even killing Juno, I mean, that's at this point she's broken. But I got to think the whole idea of realizing that she lost her husband long before the accident, because that medallion says, what did it say? It said like
love every day.
Love every day.
Each day. Love each day.
Love each day. I mean, You knew, like, just seeing that and seeing, you saw, like, you just knew, like, he was going to end up leaving her for Juno.
I
Right,
totally
'cause that's
misread
ballsy.
that. Oh my god! I
Yeah,
I
it
thought
is.
it said Love Bleach Day, and I'm like, see, all these girls bleach their assholes too, and all these girls bleach their assholes. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I don't wedge that joke in.
Love Bleach Day.
Dave,
I
you
believe
see the
that's
husband-
called changing your ringtone.
Yeah,
There it is.
waka waka.
Finally, it's finally said on the show.
Well, Watson just posted. Like,
I know.
Nice. Well, he probably does love Bleach Day because he's messing around with both of those girls. Maybe they're all into that scene, you know. Hey, and he loves it from Juno. Maybe he does anal with Juno and vaginal with his wife, and that's his gift. So I love Bleach Day, baby. You know.
That's in
But
the
I mean-
unrated. That's in the Cabal cut.
It would be so ballsy for him to take a slogan that his wife knows he says, because they said that's just something that he used to say, she said. So for him to be so bold as to put that on anything and give it to another woman, especially one that is one of your wife's best friends. I
Yeah.
mean, that's ballsy. I mean, if you just give somebody a woman a piece of jewelry, you could keep that between you and them. No one's going to know. But if they ever saw that and said love each day, I mean, come on. You would know who it's from. That's why B, I think maybe you're right. I think maybe he was going to leave her.
oh, I think without a doubt. Do you think there was? I mean, one of the questions I have. Do you think there was any suggestion that maybe Sarah even knew a year earlier what was going on? Because even like it seemed playful from her
Yeah.
end when she pushed Juno out of the raft into
Yep.
the water. But the look that Juno gives is like a look of like concern, like why would you do that? Does she know something?
I think so.
And maybe, because we don't know, maybe she was asking her husband what's wrong, kind of trying to get it out of him in the car,
Yeah.
because we never get that far before Smasherino.
Yeah, and that could present, the hostility, more like name it after you, some of the things like that. They're very
Right.
kind of disconnected, even though it's a year later, and she was clearly, there for her. But
You're right.
Bye.
I think she had suspicions, but no proof. So it's always it's underneath it all. There she is, because she even says, "What's this about? You or me?" She says. So I mean, there's a couple times, so maybe so, and they have some look. So I think going into it, knowing the outcome, knowing that this has happened, it's not your first view. You almost look for those things,
Yeah.
and the thing is, you find them. So it's like, maybe that's the intent, and if so, that's fine. I don't know. It's more believable than it's something just being right under her nose. The way I look at it, things like that, you catch on to shit like that. You see how people react when they're a little more playful, and you know what I mean. You could tell,
yeah,
it
didn't seem super playful.
right? No, it didn't, and you could just get that. I hear you. You know what's great about this movie is that you do not even see these antagonists until 50 minutes in.
Yeah.
5-0. You hear a little bit, a couple things. You don't see them until then, but it's worth the wait. Because
Yeah.
then when you do see them, and they still keep them in the shadows, and they only show them a couple times creepily, and until the last act, like there's like after we see them for like the next 15 minutes, you see some cool things. Them crawling on the ceiling, this and that, maybe one at a time, and then a couple scenes, but you don't really get up close and personal until the last act, and then it's balls to the wall. But it's
And
done so well.
Yeah, it is.
And
There's once.
they're hidden, and I heard that they're hidden in a couple scenes. So if you go back, and now I'm interested in rewatching it again now to see if I can find them in the hidden moments where
Yeah.
supposedly they're in the frame where your eye might not go to initially.
The only scene I don't love of them, it just seems a little too CG for me, is and it reminds me a little bit, you mentioned Mouth of Madness earlier with the monsters coming through the portal,
Yeah.
is
Which
right
he's looking
before
around?
right before Juno's death. And they're just it's
I hurt my neck doing that.
but yeah, they're just, I don't know, it seemed a little wonky there. But
I hear you, but I was not against it either. I think they were trying to show them a little bit more illuminated at that point. Maybe they could have shadowed them more to take away that.
I think it would
the
have been
difference in
better
the
if she
shot.
was just staring almost into darkness and didn't see anything, but you just hear the overwhelming amount of screams that
That
you
could've
know
been
there's
cool.
a million of
Yeah.
them coming. But I love the creatures and the gore, and when she kills Beth, I mean, that's a heartbreaking scene, but you saw what her legs looked like. Oh my god, she was all like eaten up already.
What about when the little monster got killed and the mom monster went ape shit?
Oh
Remember,
yeah.
this is just a family. These guys came into their territory.
Yeah.
They weren't asking to be disturbed.
They all had moments of being badass. Even the one who wasn't really that experienced, the one who wanted to be a doctor, even her death scene, like she knew she was gonna die. She like grabs the knife and stabs it like as it rips her throat out.
And then she
leans back and bleeds out.
Oh.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, man.
It's great that they're amazing creatures, these things, the way they can crawl on the ceiling and the things they can do. But if you get one close up, one-on-one, they're not particularly huge, and you can beat them. I don't want to say easily, but you can beat them just by puncturing them with something. Like,
yes.
I like that they're not so supernatural.
Indestructible, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard people complain about it, saying that they go down too easy, but I don't think they go down too
just
easy.
like Brandon.
Hey.
You motherfucker, you bald chinny and you.
Woo! Awesome. And how they hunt like bats, and they're compared to bats, and the story about how they've evolved and all that shit. They're very interesting. How come the one had human hair? Did you realize that one?
Yeah, the female one.
That was the mom, wasn't it?
Yeah, she had like Crypt Keeper like hair.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Cyndi Lauper, like circa Goonies.
Maybe she got the last bottle of Rogaine.
See, what did you say? You broke up.
I said she was like, I thought she looked like Cyndi Lauper, circa the Goonies. Speaking of which, on a total side note, if they just stayed at home and watched that video for 30 seconds longer, they would have seen the whole movie play out.
What video?
In the Goonies, I'm talking about.
Oh,
sorry. In my mind, I went to the Goonies. You know when the Goonies, so the Cyndi Lauper video comes on, and they leave the house and the song kicks on. But if they just stayed and watched that video, they would have seen the whole movie play out in front of their eyes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Damn it.
The most self-referential movie ever. It actually plays the video that has video of the movie in it.
Yeah. They'd be in the footage. Wow, that's trippy. That's like, oof. Man.
Well, that's why Brandon went after him, because Brandon was tied up. He saw the whole video, and he's like, I got to go rescue these idiots. I know what to do.
I know where they are.
Wow, that's in the Cabal Cut version of the movie.
Everything's got the Cabal Cut now.
Yeah,
there's multiple cuts.
Yep. Everything should have a Cabal Cut, I think.
The sloth cut.
The sloth cut.
Anyway, I was very happy to revisit it. It is going into rotation view now, because now I'm interested in seeing if I can find like those little Easter egg shots of the creatures, because they do exist. I mean, of course, it gets a little bit more overt when you actually see, like, it looks like it's the roof of the cave, and then suddenly you see the mouth open. I think some drool comes out, and you hear the sound effect. That's where, like, you really first see them. But I think they build up to that. I think there's like maybe 2 shots before that. So I've read that they might be hidden in the frame.
Sweet. I like the first time we see him when Sarah just sees the one doing its thing by itself. And she's like, I saw a man or something. She said, and they don't believe her. The way it looks, all creepy. And another creepy shot later when it's like right before the final showdown, you just see those 3 of them together, and they turn and look, and they're all sitting still. Man, so you had creepy shots in here, and you had gore. All good kills. You had throats getting ripped out. You have insides being eaten.
And suspense.
Yeah. You have all of this going on, and the CGI pretty much works except for some of the blood shots, which you knew I was going to complain about, but it's a minuscule, and that's what it is. And I understand what B was saying about them all crawling on the ceiling at the end, and I get that. But for the most part, when they use the CG, it works. But the practical is great. The sound design is phenomenal. I'm telling everything. I love when this happens for the podcast, and people like roll their eyes probably and say, oh, just so happens when you record a podcast about it, you notice all these new things. Sometimes that does happen. And with my new system and the TV, and it happened.
Well, it's true, because we're actually trying to look at it to discuss on the podcast. So I don't think that's a bad thing. You might be saying, like, I think it happened with Videodrome for me again. Like I say, I pick something new every time I see the movie.
Yeah, I noticed James Woods was in it this time.
It's crazy.
What do you know?
No, I love that scene when they first appeared. To me, you know what they sounded like? They sounded like a mixture of the Predator and like a raptor from Jurassic Park. That sound he makes at first. Like,
yeah. Probably on purpose too, like to kind of be a combination of different monsters that we've experienced before
they become this screaming, just terrifying nightmare.
And it's a fast-paced movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it definitely moves.
Once they descend into the hole. So, like, is the descent like a play on? I know it was good, and that was crazy. I read that it was originally called Glory Hole. I tried to say that with a straight face, and so it descend into madness, though. Her madness, like, what happens? It's a play on words here. By the end, great stuff all around. I'll give it a 9 out of 10, and I think it can only go up from there.
brilliant. I'm gonna say one more thing before
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm just really high on the movie. Something else about the relationship. I like that Juno will not leave Sarah. She's like, no, we have to. The thing about this, it's such a dynamic relationship because I see Juno, and yes, I think she's really attractive. Sure, but I don't think that's the reason I like her. I think that it's a character who isn't necessarily the heel. I understand that's her role, and you're supposed to maybe cheer when she shoots her in the leg at the end, and leaves her, not shoots her, but whatever, and leaves her to die, so to speak. But you see the relationship between them. It's like Juno was doing all this to make things up to Sarah. That's the whole thing. And no matter what, she's like, no, we're not leaving without Sarah. I'm going to make sure she's okay. Time and time again, she's trying to prove herself to this woman. And it's like I said, it's like she is trying to do right by her.
Overcome with guilt. That's what it is. It's just overcome with guilt. Yeah.
I don't think she's a terrible person. I just think she's made a bad decision when it comes to him. Yeah, you should never do that. Sleep with your one of your best friend's husband, or carry on a relationship with them.
Or stab your friend in the neck, or leave her to die.
Yeah, but
no, I totally agree with you, Dave. I'm only making jokes because I totally agree. I don't even think there's. I think the only antagonists in this film are the crawlers themselves. I don't think any of the human characters are meant to be antagonists. So you kind of have a very mixed reaction at the end when she does stab her with the pickaxe in the leg. It's almost like you understand. First of all, she's clearly she's out of her mind at this point. I think a rational Sarah wouldn't have done it, but she's clearly just thinking about all the things that she's lost, and she just harnessed all the guilt to Juno, even though they're all responsible in their own way.
Well, you have to remember, she stumbles on the girl. Who is it, Becca? She stumbles on her, and she finds out that Juno left her for dead. You know what I mean? So now she has that, Beth. So she has that going too. She's like, okay, I know for a fact now you fucked my husband, and now I see that you killed this girl. She doesn't know the reason behind it. You killed and left her to die. So her motivation at that time does make sense. You know what I mean? But it's almost tragic because Juno was really trying to do right by her, and it's just. That's why it's a dynamic relationship in this. I really fell into that this time. I was like, man.
Well, more complex than just simply making her an evil bitch. I mean,
well, look,
that's it, right?
Beth was good friends.
Yes.
Beth seemed to be better friends with Sarah than even Juno was. So, and Beth knew.
Sure.
So Beth's partially to blame. Who knows what type of relationship? And now I'm getting maybe a little ridiculous, just trying to examine what type of relationship Sarah might have had with her husband. But there's a bigger picture here, and the whole point is it's not just one person's fault. It's just sort of like the tragic consequences of all these bad choices on a lot of different people's parts and the circumstances with which they end up in and how it plays out. But as just a creature feature, it's amazing.
Boy, is it. And all the characters are great. Like I said, everything's great. And, you really feel for the characters. And, yeah, even Juno. And, well, Juno, anyway, is... Boom, man. Oof.
9 out of 10 for me also.
9.5 for me. I'm pretty high. Pretty high. 9.5. Not going to make the hall.
Just
Damn
missed
it.
Okay.
I was hoping, man, because it blew me away. That when that happens, when you watch a movie, you're like, wow, amazing. And that's how I got this time. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just happy that it was a total night and day experience for me.
Yes. Yeah, so, I'm happy you came around. So all the listeners that have doubted you before,
keep doubting.
Keep doubting. It's like I'm martyrs.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Keep doubting, ATN.
Amazing.
Look at how you knew. You knew the line I was about to
I knew it too, yeah.
One of the best of the millennium. What are you going to do?
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Next up.
Hell Night, right?
Yeah. Triple R, Hell Night, 1981. 4 college pledges are forced to spend the night in the deserted old mansion where they are stalked by the monstrous survivor of a family massacre years earlier. This one's directed by Tom DeSimone.
I got to be honest, I knew of this movie because I love the artwork, and I think I saw scenes from it at the same house that was across the street from me that I saw scenes from Nightmare on Elm Street and Silver Bullet and a few, well, not a bunch, but a couple other horror films when I was young before I really got into it. But I never saw it until much later. And then I think it was years, and I watched it for the Slasher show, and it really won me over. This is a fun slasher.
Yeah. Wow.
It checks all the boxes for me. Like 10, 15 minutes in, I'm like, Yes, this is 1981. This is
Did you
the
hear
year.
Brandon though? I don't think Brandon agrees.
No,
I knew this was gonna
it's
happen.
so strange because I almost agree with you guys that it checks the boxes of what should be a really good, fun slasher film. I do not enjoy this film. I don't know what it is, but every scene in this movie is intentionally dragged out in this slow motion sort of way that it's like, are you kidding me? Like, what is going on?
I know what you mean, and it's a suspense thing, but it could almost be. I think that's the age of the film too. But back in the day, I don't think you would have had that problem. I totally agree. I think they drag it all out, but they drag it out, and I love it in this case because all the cinematography is actually really good for a lower budget film.
It misses the mark for me.
You don't think that? I mean, it's slow. I mean, what I mean by slow is like when they're walking and they're trying to check out a strange noise. It's a long sequence.
Oh my god, yeah. And the kills are so inconsistent for me. There's like one or two really good ones, otherwise everything else is like a really wasted opportunity and sometimes even looks goofy.
Well, it's a slasher movie, but not. It's like Funhouse in the sense it's not a standard slasher movie. It's kind of like crazed monsters living in the cellar of this house, in the caves of the house.
And I don't know. It just even the characters themselves are just. I get what they're going for with this contrast, with the rich boy contrasted with the poor girl who could change change her own brakes and change a tire and stuff like that. Like, but I don't know what it is. I don't like Linda Blair in this. I don't really like anybody in this.
What? They make the characters nice compared to like most of the other movies that were out.
I think they're boring. I think they're very one note. The best part of this movie for me is the whole backstory of the family. And they give you the whole backstory of how each, of the Garth family, the first child was this, the second child was named this, and this, and this, and then to just have, sort of like the big twist being, spoiler, that two of them are still alive instead of one, isn't really that big of a twist considering they say they only found 3 bodies, meanwhile there were 6 of them. The twist should have been there was a third one alive, and it should have been Suzanne since they described her walk. I think it was Suzanne. It's either Suzanne or Margaret. I think it was Suzanne. They described her walk. It's like dragging her foot. Like that would have been a cool scene at the end when Linda Blair wakes up in the car, Marty, whatever her name is, when she wakes up in the car and gets out, and then you just hear like a dragging foot. This is what I do, and sometimes like it hurts a film for me is when I think of like better ways to do it.
But this is okay. Sorry, Dave, you go because we've been hogging the conversation here. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, and I get that, and I can't hate on this because I used to have this exact same problem with this movie that B is having now. I watched this maybe 4 years ago, and I probably watched it in the initial run in the VHS days and just passed it off as another thing. And when Year of the Slasher came around, I watched it again for maybe, I'm going to say it's the third time, but prior to that, a lot of people put this on like top 20 lists, especially of 80s slashers. Kind of like Just Before Dawn. It was one of those movies that I watched and just never understood what everybody loved about it. Now, when I watched it for the slasher show, I came up a little. It didn't make the list. It just missed. It was one of those 6.75s. It was hovering on the end there. It was an honorable mention. So it was there, and I liked it a little more. This time, I liked it even more. I think I had, with this movie, like you guys both had with Just Before Dawn, how you guys came up each time. That's what's happened with me in this movie. But I can't say I can hate on what B is saying because I used to feel the same way he did. But maybe because I have the blue now and I can see everything and I can see the kid. I remember saying it on the slasher show. This is a movie that needs a blue because it's too dark and there's some other things. And the blue, while not the greatest quality, but it's the best we're going to get, does help out. I enjoyed it even more this time. And it's like I said, it checks the boxes. It's a 1981 film that fits in with all those 1981 slashers. It's just, I mean, yes, some are better than others, but to me, this is more on the upper than on the lower.
Absolutely. I agree. And we're not talking about, I'm not even talking about great range.
No,
it's good to very good. And it's just a lot of fun, but it is deliberately paced. But they've got a great location, and they I think they use it well, and they up the ante when they take it down into the caves. And yeah, Brandon, I could agree with what you're saying, but there's a bit of, instead of looking at it as a detriment, it's kind of the charm I get from it.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I don't hate this film. I don't want it to come off like I'm going to give this a super low score because we're probably going to wind up in the same area.
It's going to be one of those again.
But the reason why I'm so disappointed after watching it for, I don't know if this is my third time seeing it, but is that I see so much potential in it, and I don't know why I cling to some of the things like, obviously there's been a police investigation here. How come they never found the underground tunnels? Like, it just seemed like something very easy to find if police were investigating this. Like, I could forgive that, though, but there's just too many missed opportunities given such a great setting, because I do love the atmosphere of the mansion. And I do like some of the practical jokes that the guys are playing, but once the killings start and everything, I don't know what it is. I don't think the characters are that strong. I like Seth's character. Seth's character is my favorite of this. The girl he's with also, Denise, the one who disappears and winds up dead. Yeah. She's quirky and funny. I thought your name was Seth.
Yeah. Well,
I got to go to the John. I thought your name was Seth.
Well, he's good too, because like you said, like you think he's gonna get the fuck out of Dodge, and you think he's dead for sure. But he comes back to try to save the day, only to get fucked.
Yeah, that's you never see that in a slasher film, like a stand-up character that gets away and actually comes back. Usually they get killed like right outside when they escape, but he actually makes it, comes back, and ultimately gives his life to save Marty. But yeah, cool. I thought that scene on the fence was really suspenseful. That was a great scene.
And when do you see somebody get away like that and actually go get help? When does it ever work in slashers?
Well, that's what we were just saying. We just said that. I don't know if we cut out, but that's what we were just saying. That's the great thing about it, because usually you figure that scene would have ended with him slipping and impaling himself on the fence, or he jumps down on the fence only for the killer to be on the other side and kill him, or something like that. Like, he never gets away. And not only that, tries to get the police. Yep. They don't believe him, so he steals a shotgun to go back to save the day. Or try
the good old days when you could break into the evidence room so easily and just grab any gun you want.
Right. But it worked. I like that he got there and they didn't believe him because it's pledge week and it's that house and they've probably been getting pranks all night. I dig. By the way, they never come out and say it. Is this Halloween night or is it not? Because they're all in costumes.
Yeah, well, it's weird because why would it be? Wouldn't that be a little late to be doing all these pranks and freshman stuff for school? That would be happening in September, not October.
That's what I'm thinking. Then why are they all in costume? That's something I don't get.
I think it was for fun. I thought it was supposed to be Halloween.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I think I wasn't 100% sure. And
no, it makes sense for it to be around Halloween. If college starts up, in September or end of August, and they're pledging a fraternity or sorority, you usually pledge for a number of weeks, and then Hell Night might be this is your last thing before initiation.
So your belief is that this is Halloween night?
Yeah, I could buy into it. I never really thought about it. I mean, obviously it looks like it should be.
I don't know. It looks like it should be, but I don't know, and there's not a definitive answer. I think it's kind of funny that they actually have a cigarette girl at a fraternity party. That's when do you have a cigarette girl? You better have that's something you see at a mansion, I guess. You know what I mean? Or a high class bar.
Well, that's the thing. This is a rich fraternity, and you could see all the girls are sort of snooty and stuff, and like the president of the fraternity is really, he's sort of this like the rich kid, the pretty rich boy. Even the pledge, Seth is like a pretty rich boy. That whole conversation.
He's from Frontal Chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter Barton. Yeah. And it's funny because I knew he was in this movie, and the guy that B was just talking about, the guy that leads, going by memory, I know that Peter Barton's in this movie. So when I see that first guy, I thought that was him because he looks a little bit like him. And then there's this one scene when the kid says something to him, and he says, "Hey, Peter, when are we going to start initiations or something?" And I thought that he fucked up and called him by his real name. And I recorded it even. I was going to play it on the show. And then 5 minutes later, we're introduced to the real Peter Barton playing the Jeff role. And I was like, oh, okay, that's Peter Barton now. But when it first started, I thought that was him because it kind of looks like
Maybe if you sang Tangerine.
And this is the movie where they say gorked out like a million times.
Gorked out. That was the word. I love that.
I don't even know what that means.
I had to look it up. I'm like, what the hell does gorked out mean?
My biggest nitpick of it was always like, who lit the candles when they first got into the house? Because they start lighting more candles from the lit candles, but they're already illuminated when they come through the doors.
Well, you assume Peter and the other brothers and sisters, since they're like
True.
Would set it up because they're going there.
True,
fire
because
hazard.
they acted like they shot the lock here, right? They shot the lock, but I have a feeling they got in.
Yeah.
With blanks. I have a feeling they got in earlier and did their own thing.
Well, they did because they had all the things set up for the sound effects and stuff. So true.
So that was a joke.
Yeah.
Because why would they have to break into that place every year? If that's something they do every year, why would they have to shoot a lock?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Well, like if it's been done every year, then Brandon's right too. Then why is this the first year that everybody ends up getting killed and attacked?
Oh, then they haven't done it. They have Hell Week every year, but they probably have never gone to this place before.
Well,
Actually, don't they say that's part of the initiation? Is they got to spend the night in the castle? Maybe they've never done it on the anniversary before, because this was the 12-year anniversary.
I don't know. They have initiations. I don't know. I don't think.
I'm pretty sure they said this is part of the initiation, that they got to spend the night in the mansion. I don't know if it's just meant for this one or for all of them.
I mean, it's valid, but then this is when I go, it's forgivable because it's a slasher film, and you either have to accept that or you don't. Some people get a little bit more uptight about that and say, well, why is it forgivable? Because it's a slasher film. I accept it for what it is. It doesn't ruin the movie, but yeah, there's unanswered questions for sure.
Sure, but how is that? That's the charm of it. And how is it any different than the movies that we talk about all the time?
Absolutely.
That are old movies, like we brought it up on the show before, where anything from like the 50s and the 60s and before, people fall in love in one day, and that's like a trope that you get in those old horror movies. You know what I mean? So if we're accepting of that, then why can't we be accepting of 80s tropes? It is what it is. And sometimes it can be explained. It's just like, I don't know if they do this every year. I'm gonna have to watch it again and figure out if they go to this particular house. I don't know. Here's something funny though. How about when the guy's explaining the story about the kids that get murdered and the guy, he takes his own life? The words he used is that he hung himself to death. Hung himself to death. How does that work? I love
Isn't
that.
hanged too? Anyway, the way the killer gets killed, the way the killer is killed is really cool, because the fence does come back into play.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, like you said, there's some fun scenes here. I liked the characters, Brandon. Admittedly, I thought they were different from what you'd usually get from a batch in a slasher film. I thought maybe because
it anticlimactic, the ending with the kill. I'm not saying the fence, I was gonna say penetration. The kill, him being, gored by the fence.
Gorked.
And a good kill. But if you notice, like, even before the whole him on top of the hood, she's like fighting him, and she doesn't even have her hands on the wheel. Yet every time they pan back and show the car, it's doing circles. It's doing fucking donuts all over the place. And I'm just like, this is just, I don't know. I don't know why.
That's from a ton of movies,
really
though.
I know, it was really bothering me. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know why. I don't hate this movie. I just saw so much more potential in it. Even when we did it for the slasher show, it has the makings of being one of these like 8.59 slashers. And
I agree.
But it falls way short of it for me.
I agree. It does fall short. Maybe now I see what you're saying. I see that. Yeah. I get what you're saying. The potential, because again, it's not one of the greats. It's not Friday 2 or Maniac or My Bloody Valentine or anything else from 1980 and 81. It's not that level. No, it's not even the Burning level. But I still enjoy it. It's, I don't know, maybe a step below Happy Birthday to Me and things like that. I don't know.
I think even if I look at it just from, like, not being crazy critical like I'm being, but even if I'm just looking at it from a slasher standpoint, the decapitation scene of that girl May, cutaway, it looks goofy. The Peter death and that Scott kill are great. That Scott was like a douche when he calls her a twat. He deserved to have his head twisted off, and Peter getting that like scythe through his stomach is great. But even the Seth kill, what a missed opportunity for him to be like impaled on something when he gets thrown out the window. Sure. Denise just disappears, and then you just see like her sitting at the table downstairs in the tunnels with her throat slit. What a missed opportunity to show a good throat slit. I don't know if it was a budgetary issue or not, but there was just so much inconsistency, because they had 2 genuinely good kills, and 3, if you include, his being impaled on the fence at the end. It does look good. It just feels anticlimactic given, the slow, methodic setup. It just seems like, this was
Yablon. Is it Yablon or
Erwin Yablon.
Yeah, Erwin LeBlanc. So he probably said, like, he was more about the suspense, I think, than the gore, right? So they had to up the gore a little bit based on the fact that now we're a few years later, but this is ultimately a follow-up to Halloween for him, working in the same realm, in slasher realm. So maybe he wanted it a little classier.
Yeah, I could buy that. And speaking of Halloween, did you notice the soundtrack was a perfect mix of Friday the 13th and Halloween? 100%. The how can I say this? The chase music, a lot of that was Halloween, and the suspense scenes sounded like the string instruments from Friday. I'm telling you, watch the.
Yeah.
It happened so many times. I'm like, okay, that sounds like Friday. That sounds like Halloween. It's weird. It's usually one or the other. This one took pieces from both of those movies and used them, and did it the right way. It wasn't a complete ripoff, but you could tell the influence, and I don't know. I like that. Maybe it felt like
cool.
home. Yeah.
It was cool. It was directed by Billy from Friday the 13th, Part 5's brother.
Right.
Tom DeSimone, yeah.
Yeah.
Snow flurries up the nose.
Yes. I love that. And I love that girl. What's her name? All the drugs she's talking about.
Yeah. How many drugs did she have on her? Like, anybody for a Quaaludes and JD party?
That's my kind of girl. Everything that she says, that they have this. They took away. She's like, I got them all. I got Quaaludes and I got Jack Daniels on me, but they took my weed and my Coke. I'm like, this chick, she's a hot girl. She wants to party. She's got all these drugs. And then she gets upstairs in the bedroom. She's acting all hot to trot. Then she gets in the bedroom and she wants to talk. Yeah. So she also wants to talk. She isn't just some dirty birdie. Let's just hop right in the bed and get high. She also wants to have some communications and stuff like that. I don't know.
Communications.
They should have been the lead characters. Her and
wow.
Jeff.
Come on. Jeff. Linda Blair is Linda Blair. Maybe
Linda Blair was terrible in this.
No, I disagree too.
In fact, I think she was nominated for the Razzie for this because she was that bad. Yeah, she was
just
nominated
because it was
for
Linda Blair. That's bullshit.
She was terrible. She was like a drugged out, like monotone, just boring version of leading slasher girl.
Nah.
I'm not saying she was the cat's ass, but I enjoyed her. I mean, she was fine, and it's Linda Blair, and she looked good, so I was all about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she's an attractive girl, but I didn't feel like I don't know. She was not a strong lead. I didn't feel like she gave a shit about anyone she was truly with. I didn't feel like she really connected with the other characters. And
really? Not with Peter or Jeff?
Seth?
Yeah, Seth. Seth. So the other guy's name is Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah, Jeff was the head of.
Now I want to know where you come in, Brandon, because you do seem a little bit more down on it.
5.75.
Wow.
Damn.
Well, on the slasher show, I gave this a 7.5. It's on my top 50 list, and I'm going to stick with that rating. It's a fun, nifty little slasher.
I'm with you. For me, I was 6.75 on the slasher show, like I said earlier, but I have come up half a point up to 7.25.
Awesome. Nice.
So that's where I am. And I'd be amiss not to say this. That shot with the guy coming up in the background underneath the blanket of the trapdoor is fantastic. I love that scene.
I was bringing it up earlier, but Brandon was going on about something, and I didn't feel like I've interrupted him enough tonight, so I felt bad.
But I totally forgot about that scene.
It's great. It's a great scene.
One of the really good scenes in the film.
Yeah.
Yes, and my notes here say great climax. So I know B didn't like it, but I was really invested in like the last 5 minutes. Man, I thought it was good stuff. I enjoyed it.
I don't know. There was just with that setup of actually naming all the family members and telling you what each of them had in terms of deformity. When they kind of reveal at first, you don't know who this killer is, and then when they show the second, you're not even 100% sure. I wasn't really sure who's who. I would have liked to have known, like, definitively who was who.
That's fair, and I get that, and that would have been cool, like you said, with getting the dragging of the feet at the end. That would have been awesome, but I still quite enjoy it. So, well. I know Brandon, pardon me. I know that Christian's going to blow the next movie for 40 minutes, and our time is limited, so we better get into it.
Let's do it.
Videodrome.
Videodrome from 1983. Written and directed by David Cronenberg. When he acquires a different kind of show for his station, a sleazy cable TV programmer begins to see his life and the future of media spin out of control in a terrifying new reality.
I feel like I've said this on the show before, and I'll say it again. I always feel like I pull something out of this each and every time I see it. And to me, that's a testament of a great movie.
Are you sure you weren't pulling your new flesh?
Yeah, well, maybe I was pulling that too. And then shooting some new flesh too. But the reality is that that's the sign of a great movie. I've said, I made no bones about it. I don't know if I 100% understand everything here, but I don't know if anybody does.
You know what?
Cronenberg included.
Interesting you say that. I gotta just say, because I was reading about this, because I didn't feel like I understood everything either, and I love this film, and David Cronenberg is just, he's amazing. But I read something where I think Martin Scorsese even commented on this film and said something like David Cronenberg. When John Carpenter said David Cronenberg is better than all of us, and Martin Scorsese, basically said he's brilliant, but I don't even think David knows what his movies are about. But he's brilliant. So you're right in that sense with this. Like
it's funny, and I'm glad that you got that, because I heard the John Carpenter quote before, never heard the Marty Scorsese one, and that's great because. What I love about him is the movie had an organic growth to it from everything I've read about it and researched about it from over the years back in the day, even reading the little essay that's in the, I don't have the blue version, but I have the Criterion DVD. And from the idea that he didn't have a definitive ending, he didn't know what he wanted to do. So as the movie was made, he was reconstructing it. So the subject matter of the film is pretty much how he scripted it, in the sense of like the new flesh kind of, it all organically came together. It's so interesting to me. I don't even think I'm articulating this right because I'm so excited about talking about it. But the fact of him not having an ending and going back and once he did have an ending, him re-editing it until he felt like it represented what he wanted the film to be.
I feel like it does. I feel like it is coherent enough to kind of follow and put your own interpretation on, but at the same time I feel like there's so much more that it's like I can't even comprehend, like I can't even wrap my mind around.
Well, there's so many things that were right in front of her face that I'm like, I maybe subliminally got, and they're so overt now that I'm like, is this really the first time I got it? So the mission that, well, I'll start with one thing. I'm jumping all over the place here. I'll start with the fact that a lot of the characters we're introduced first via television image.
Yes.
And maybe you don't even realize it, other than Max Wren, but we're introduced to his girl Friday as the movie opens up. Civic TV, the one you go to bed with, and then it wakes up with her. We're introduced to Nikki Brand, Nikki Brand that way, and she could just be a television image, a seduction, like a projection, if you will. She doesn't even have to be real.
You know what? That's such a great thing that I also read about her character in particular. It's that they basically said that after he's with her on the set of the TV show, that he basically is never with her again, that everything else is just a projection, because she basically even says that, not that she doesn't like him, but I forgot what the line was.
He's a menace.
He's a menace
to society. He's a menace to me.
Yeah, he's a menace to me. So and I felt like that line was genuine. So like everything else was, I feel like after that is just a projection of Max's every encounter with her.
Yeah, but they were together on the show, so he saw her face to face.
Yes, but everything subsequent, the relationship, everything building from there is, to me, hallucinogenic.
Really? You don't think they got together and had that wherever, his place or her place, whatever it was,
No.
When they were getting it on and he was piercing her and all that stuff? And the scars on her? You thought that was in his head?
Yeah.
Videodromed?
I do.
I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong. I'm just curious.
No, I don't think we'll ever know like right or wrong, but I really do this time.
And the mission where
the cathode ray mission.
Yeah, well, that cathode ray mission. I mean, it's right there in the title of it. Cathode ray is a sensor from a television and emits electrons, right? So
yeah.
And then there's the reality of the film almost changing gears, not even every turning point as the story progresses. At first, it's about Videodrome. Then he's almost like a program assassin. Then he gets reprogrammed to fight back. I mean, there's a lot going on within its 90-minute running time. But it's not for everybody. But it's always been the most intriguing Cronenberg film to me.
It's certainly most intriguing. Yeah, I could definitely say that for the ones I've seen.
And I said I wasn't going to talk. I wanted to hear you guys talking, and I just went on a big spiel. So I'm more interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it.
I was gonna pose a question, and obviously,
pose.
pose a question. Hey,
Strike a pose.
Professor Oblivion. He's one of the creators of Videodrome.
Correct. He's one of the
Yes.
partners. Yes.
Now they turn and they kill him because they have a secret mission that they want to use Videodrome to destroy the derelicts and those who enjoy, sex and violence and the pervs of the world. What was Oblivion's original idea behind Videodrome? Because I know he does all that talking with, the television screen is the retina of the mind's eye. Was it just to create a utopia where everyone lived in like this television world? This is where it gets like to a point where I'm intrigued and I want to know more, but I'm not quite understanding.
His daughter never really does go into detail about what his ideal version was, but I guess, yeah. And then I always wondered, didn't he succeed then? Although they said that they turned and killed him, were presented to him from a video world. So he sort of succeeded in his realm to a certain degree. But they wanted to use it. And it wasn't just, I don't know if it was just derelicts. I think it was supposed to be like us.
Right.
Even horror fans, even just people that are intrigued by violence.
Yeah, sex and violence.
But to them, we could be derelicts for enjoying violence and sex, etc. You know what I mean?
It was way ahead of it. It was ahead of its time. It really was.
Sure.
Posing these questions now, and these are certainly issues that have not gone away.
Well, you can argue it a couple different things. Did they want to be able to, because they said the world's gone soft, were they trying to conform North Americans into obedient soldiers that could be programmed to kill at their whim? Or were they wanting us to consume media and not worry about what was happening around in society? Funny enough, you could say that he consumes quite literally media in this movie too.
Boy, those effects are awesome with the tape.
Yeah, Rick Baker's effects. Like,
Rick Baker.
I've read this in a couple different ways, because it's almost like in one part of the movie they're talking about we're just kind of like the mouse in the maze, in the sense of we're going towards TV to consume it and to be absorbed by it, so that we don't worry about what's happening in politics or the world around us. And that way we become numb. And then in another way, it sounds like they want to program us into like militant machines that can be programmed to go out and fight if they need it.
Yeah, that seems like Barry Convex's and Harlan's way, which is to turn us into assassins to kill, and Oblivion's way seems to be like almost like the mind-numbing, let's connect with each other and cut out all the craziness of the real world, because even in his missions, he's reintroducing the homeless to TV. They each have their own like cubicles.
Well, they're like the lab rats. They're the test studies before they take over Cable 83 and take it to the next level. That was the thought process. But at this point,
he's using it for good.
Brian Oblivion or Barry.
Bianca has this set up with the intent of doing good, I think, right?
I assume she's on. Yeah, she's doing good.
She's on what?
Sorry, you broke up on me too. We are to assume she's doing good because she has the ability to reprogram it.
Yeah,
which we find out later. But the signal itself is it's supposed to cause tumors that can manifest itself into this new flesh. So in my essay, and it's funny that I think Jerry brought this up when they covered it on Kill the Cast in the summer, another podcast for anybody out there that hasn't heard of it, check it out. But when they covered it as a group there, he mentioned we never come back to him being in that hallucinatory recorder that's put on his head. Remember, he's put there, and Barry just leaves him there because he can't stand freaky stuff and leaves. And then he wakes up, and that's where the movie all from that point on is like one big like trip. And I think when he shoots himself at the end of the movie, he really is killing himself and unleashing and destroying the Videodrome from his mind.
Or ascending,
from his mind.
He's reprogrammed at that point. I think he's taking on his next form to continue to fight Videodrome.
Well, that's what I mean. So by doing that, that's what he is shooting himself. That's why I think when that guy is shot in the head and he falls to the ground and all those like tumor-esque things are coming out of him, which is excessively grisly and gory. I don't think that that's anything necessarily real. I think that's part of the why can't I say it? Hallucination. Holy shit.
Are you hallucinating?
Yeah. His hallucination.
It's possible. I don't know. This is my second time watching this one. I bought the Criterion blindly when it was when they had the sale, because it's hard to turn them down when they're down to that price and when they're half off, And at the time I bought it, I was just getting familiar with Cronenberg, having seen The Fly once or twice. We're going back, I don't know, 5 years or so, and I seen The Fly. I had seen The Brood many times, and Scanners, and then I think just those three. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to buy this Videodrome. And that's it. I think that's the extent of what I see. Maybe there's another Cronenberg that I'm not thinking of, but I haven't seen Rabid, and I haven't seen, what's the other early one? He has another early one. Rabid and something else. No, not The Brood. There's another one.
Shivers, or They Came From Within?
Shivers. Haven't seen that, or They Came From Within.
Well, that's the same movie. It's just a different title.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Shivers and Rabid I still have not seen. I had to buy this one because Cronenberg hasn't failed me yet. Now, the second time around, I still don't know exactly what's happening, but I still enjoyed it a lot. I'm waiting for that view where I do watch it and it all hits me the right way. And I think it will happen. I just don't think it was this particular view. Once again, because I watched an hour of it last night and I was getting tired. And I stopped the movie at 1 hour and 6 minutes, went to bed, woke up this morning, set my alarm for 8 a.m. to watch the freaking last half hour before we recorded. But I still really enjoyed it. So I'm not, talking any shit on the movie. I enjoy the movie, but there's something, I'm waiting for that view where I like Christian, you said you don't understand it 100%, and that's fine. It's
and I'll stand by that. Like, I mean, and I've read things of people saying, I feel like even when I've researched it, I've heard a lot of people say, I don't understand it 100%, but it's part of the intrigue as well. Almost as if, like, you think by watching it again and again, you'll pull something more out of it each time.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like David Lynch. Again, I'm no expert on Lynch. I've just watched The Lost Highway for the first time last month.
That's a trip movie too. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, and I know Lynch's reputation for his films. And like I said this on Duncan's show, but it bears repeating. I was watching a movie with my wife. I'd never seen it. There aren't any Lynch movies beginning to end, and I was watching it with her, and she asked a few questions, and she's saying, "This guy's obviously the devil." And I said, "Well, that's the way it's gonna seem." I said, "Let me tell you something about this director. When the end of the movie hits, you may not be explained what it is. So don't get frustrated, because this is the reputation he has." Now, Cronenberg, I don't think he's that confusing of a director, but I do think that this is, from the stuff I've seen, from this being the fourth Cronenberg movie I've seen, this is as close to like a Lynch movie.
This is by far his most Lynchian.
There you go.
Lynchian. Yeah.
Lynchian. I can say that about this movie. That's what I think it is. And you take it as it is. It doesn't, would I prefer it to be laid out? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it didn't take away from my enjoyment, but I enjoy the movie. That's the bottom line. It's a good movie. It's entertaining. There isn't a whole hell of a lot I can say, except for, just little things that I wrote down. Like, the girl into the kinky stuff that she was into. If you were single and you met a girl, and look at the way, she looks and acts, she's immediately an attractive personality, attractive looking, everything. And you were to hang out with her, and she wanted you to pierce her ears. Could you do that? Would you do that?
Yeah, I would do that. I wouldn't put out cigarettes on her, though, because I have cigarette burns, and those fucking hurt.
Oof, I don't want to see that either, buddy.
Those hurt. They are not pleasurable.
Who are you, John Bender over there? See, this is what you get in my house when you spill paint in the garage.
No, I was a crazy man in high school. I got 2 cigarette burns on my arm.
Ooh, I was crazy too, but I didn't do the cigarette burn.
People dared me. They're like, I bet, because I used to tell people, I don't feel pain. I bet you feel pain if you put a cigarette out on you. And I pretended I didn't, but oh, fuck, I did.
Oh, man. You know what I used to always do? I have a high tolerance for heat, so I could take a flame and light a lighter, and I would, have contests against other people to see who can keep their hand there the longest. That's something
Your hand's on fire melting, and they're like, ah!
I'm still good at it.
You know who she is, though, right, Dave?
Of Debbie Harry. Of course I know who she is. Oh, yes. And I tell you what, I prefer her with this color hair instead of the blondie style. I think she looks better with the dark hair. That's just me. But, yeah, I know who she is. Matter of fact, all the women in this movie, there's what's his name? Phantasm Oblivion's daughter. Her and the other girl.
Nikki,
what's her
right?
name?
No.
Well, Nikki
Brand.
Nikki is Debbie Harry.
Bianca Oblivion. Shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oof, man, her and the other girl. What's her name? What did you say her name was? Friday or something?
No, I said his girl Friday. She calls her. That's what she calls herself.
Friday.
Some weird name. I don't know. Either way, the trio of them.
The one who was always checking up on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very,
Friday,
very.
I think.
Very pretty women. I'll tell you that. But I mean, the effects are really cool, and I understand what they're going for. It's a little over my head, but I think it's a little over everybody's head, and it's tough for me to say a whole lot about it. The TV trick is really cool when he puts his head up to it, and when the stuff comes out later, like all the plasticky, rubbery effects that we're seeing, they work really well. The videotape with the breathing and all that stuff, and his body and opening it up, and the effects really are the highlight for me.
And very phallic, and whatever the female word for phallic is.
For me, it's the way the movie grabs you. So you know how Natural Born Killers grabs you, Dave?
Yeah.
About that I guess that is the feeling I get from this movie. So I forgive the fact that I don't need the movie. I don't need to know the ins and outs of the movie to love it. And I feel like the fact that it's left there, and I guess Brandon, how we were talking about it earlier when we're saying it explains enough to make it coherent enough.
Yeah.
But leaving a bunch of question marks. That's the intrigue, and I saw that right out of the gate. When I used to get, when I was, I'd say a kid, but a teen, and this wouldn't be typically my cup of tea. I loved it.
Yeah. Yannick. Phallic and Yannick.
Phallic and Yannick. Yannick sounds like a name, doesn't it? This is my cousin Yannick from Poland.
Yannick Oblivion.
Yanish Poha. Yannick Poha.
Nice. Hey, did Howard Shore do the soundtrack?
Yes, he did.
Okay, he always does with Cronenberg. Very good. And I didn't pick up on it till the third act. I'm like, you know what? I really enjoyed the soundtrack. I wonder if it's Howard Shore. And I straight up forgot to look. Okay.
Quite haunting. And I guess this was really supposed to shadow, even though there is a character named Moses in this. I think James Woods' character was supposed to be that Moses Zeimer. I think I've mentioned him before. He was the head of City TV. Dave, you probably caught the feed there. City TV everywhere. Their Toronto station that kind of was built up by playing things a little risque to get an audience because they were a small independent TV channel.
Did they play Japanese porn with dildos?
Possibly. I mean, they would be the one that played everything you wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask. Cannibal Girls. They would play that. They would play movies like that.
Yeah.
That would have enough intrigue and violence and quote unquote questionable material that most of the other stations would censor or not dare to play.
Hey, is that CTV? I remember CTV coming from.
No, not CTV. City TV.
City TV to me looks like a. So you're saying this is a real thing?
I'm saying it's.
City TV is a real thing in Canada.
City TV is a real thing, and I think that Max Wren and Civic TV was definitely based on that.
Civic. Okay. It's based on. To me, it just reminds you of public access TV or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just what I got out of it. And they might play some weird things, but this City TV had a bunch of different channels you could have, right? Or am I wrong?
No. City TV was just one station, and it just grew. It just grew, and it had some key people that were there from the beginning that just helped grow the station, and it's a popular station now. It's more recognized as as a morning, breakfast television morning show, and like us. The news and everything else, like our morning show now.
Nice. Okay, so what's it called in the movie? Not City TV. What is it called?
Civic TV.
Civic. So Civic TV is just one station. It just plays whatever it wants. Whatever you put on when you put on that channel, whatever they're playing is what you're getting.
Yeah, they're making the program lineup. You see, they're always looking at different risque stuff, and he's like, I don't like this. This is too safe. Or
video is also treated like drugs in this movie. That was another point I wanted to bring up earlier. It's a good place to bring it up now. The way that the scenes are shot and those deals where they're talking about distribution and wanting to buy the shows, it's presented like you do in the films where a satchel comes across a table, opens up, and instead of there being cocaine or whatever there, it's videotapes. So it just leads to the whole hallucinatory subplot there, video and leading to almost like a drug of choice and everything else. So there's that motif throughout.
Yeah.
I could buy that. Did you notice that maybe this is just me, but remember that thing that his friend was trying to show him? I forget what her name was. She kind of looked like Carol Burnett when she got killed.
Oh, Masha.
Yeah.
Okay. Masha, not Marsha. Masha. Okay, so Masha, when she
Masha potatoes.
caught in a Masha.
It's got a philosophy.
Yes, her.
Bangers and Masha.
Oh boy. Masha. Anyway, remember she's trying to show him that she was running that show by him, and it was like these people like in the past, and they were, but they were naked.
It looked kind of like sexual. An orgy, but not.
Yeah. But it was like old school looking, like from like I don't know, Roman times maybe or something. Okay. I don't know if this is just me, but later on when he has the gun and he goes to kill that guy and he's on the stage talking about the glasses and all that stuff. Remember they had that stage show going on before he came on? Don't you think that was a little bit reminiscent of that show that she was showing? I thought they did it on purpose.
They probably did. Knowing Cronenberg, it was probably done by choice. It's funny now that you say it. Yes.
Oh no, here he goes.
What?
Are you going to say something about he broke his glasses? I just feel like
he just broke my Videodrome glasses.
Those cost $100 million.
Yeah.
Don't body slam me.
That's expensive machinery you're wearing there.
Indeed. But you get it though, right? The dance, the stage show is similar. This is kind of like an updated version of that. It's a little more risque and it's modernized. Kind of. It's not even set in present day. It's a different time. I don't know what time you would say, but a different time period is what I should be saying. But either way, I just caught that. I thought that was kind of cool, But I don't know. The bloody stump stuff was awesome. That freaking guy, when he put the tape in him and pulled it out, he had that bloody stump, and he was, oh, dude. Oh.
Yeah. Yes. And again, they used beta primarily because of the effects. They would have used VHS, but then they realized the tape was too big for the effects work of the slits and everything like that. So they decided the beta would be a better option, so that the tape wasn't so large. Dude,
the Criterion Blue looks, when you pull it out of the box, it looks like a beta. It's really cool. Like both ends. One side it has the two those white circles, and the other side is the one. And when I looked at it, I go, that's a beta, isn't it? She's like, I don't know. I go, yeah. I go, because the VHS had two. I go, the betas I think were smaller, and they had one. And sure enough, yeah, it's a beta. That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool. Criterion, the blue looks pretty good. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the supplementals, unfortunately, but it comes with that nice thick booklet. Like
it's the same stuff. I think it's just ported from their DVD. So it's a great little collection.
But that gun fusing stuff was really cool. Here's my problem. How come he never asks about Nikki? Nikki goes away. She says, a Videodrome is made for me. I'm going to Pittsburgh. And then she's gone. And he seems like he's kind of obsessed with this girl. Then he goes on for an hour. He's on this whole trip of Videodrome, and I got to find who's responsible, and I got to do this and all this. Not one time, all these people he comes across, everything he does, not one time does he inquire about this Nikki girl.
No, he does. You would think
that'd be the first thing.
I thought he did. Yeah, he does.
He does inquire about her because he finds out that she was not on assignment in Pittsburgh at all.
Well, who does he inquire?
With the radio station that she worked for.
The radio station? Yeah, but they're not. What can he? All they know is that she left. They wouldn't know anything about where she went. What I'm saying is, he is aware that she went to Videodrome. So when he started getting hooked up with the underground world of Videodrome, why wouldn't he ask those people, where is Nikki? Didn't even come up. And I was like, aren't you even...
In the process of the movie, it does. I thought they inserted the scene that Brandon's talking about where it does come up in the perfect time frame of kind of still alluding to it. And the reason we don't see her anymore and the reason she's not there is because, again, I don't think she was real. But I honestly think that we can't question anything. Like, I think anything here doesn't necessarily have to be reality.
I hear you. That's fair. Just a question. Brandon, maybe it did happen and I missed it. That could have just as easily happened, especially if it happened between the 1 hour and the 1 hour and 6 minute mark last night when I was starting to doze, and I said, okay, I got to stop, because that did happen. And it's happened this week. And again, thank goodness we only have 2 more shows where we have to watch 5 movies or more. Especially now, having this newborn thing in my house that I'm going to bed later and I'm waking up earlier to spend time with him. So it's like, I'm at 100%, but it's worth it because of how I feel mentally. So it's okay, but I'm just putting it out there. 2 more shows, you won't see us doing that anymore, man. If we have triple R's, it's because we watched extra movies that week and we're bringing them to the table. Hey, I watched this week and this is what it's about, etc., etc. Here's a quick rating. Peace. You know what I mean? Back to the way it used to be.
I just want to say one more thing about the end when he goes into that desolate sort of area and the chains and he's watching and that's when Nikki decides in video form to tell him what he needs to do to reach the next level. I do like that scene, and I've always questioned whether or not in the reproduction of it, so in the video version when he's presented the information of what to do next, I've always wondered if his hand should have been the fused kind of gross monster gun hand, because I think it would have made more sense if maybe it was not monster gun hand there, and then you see that there's some subtle differences there. So he does bring it up, and it's the monster gun hand still, and his eyes are open. He shoots himself, and the TV guts explode out, or the Videodrome tumor flies out. Whatever. It's all gore. But where I'm going with it is when he does it for real, to rid himself of Videodrome to ascend to the next level, he does close his eyes, and he has the monster gun there. But I just thought maybe it would have been nice to have a subtle difference of him not having the monster gun and it just being him with the handgun up to his head in the video reproduction. Again,
well, I think that would have been a much more definitive, hey, this is all still a hallucination type of thing, rather than this is, still open for interpretation.
True, but I was reversing it, saying in the reality one, it was the monster hand still. So then it is kind of like, well, wait, in the reality, it's his monster hand, but in the actual reproduction of the TV, when he's watching what he needs to do next, it would have just been his hand with the gun. I don't know. It's just the way my mind works. I thought that would have been kind of cool.
I could see it, but even with everything Oblivion saying, with TV being reality and stuff like that, it gets so warped in my head. I can't even wrap my head around it. So, I tried to keep it simple in terms of Max's story and just say from, the first time he's exposed to Videodrome that he very quickly goes on a downward spiral and Nikki becomes sort of in a hallucination and everything that plays out, because there's so much that happens. Even when he's meeting with Masha, how does Masha know about Videodrome and that it has a philosophy and this and that it's dangerous and, what is, he gets that from her, but then you kind of never see her again, and then she shows up dead in his bed, and it's
well,
really...
or does she? Yeah,
Right.
But my mind is going a mile a minute because I want to make sure I got all my points out before we had to wrap up. But what I was saying is when he puts his gun up to the head and the video reproduction, eyes are open, boom, it's a very visceral blast out that TV that's now labeled Videodrome. When he does it for real, he closes his eyes. So it's almost like the reproduction had no emotion, so it wouldn't close his eyes, but in reality, there's still emotion there, so he closes his eyes. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
That's kind of interesting. That could almost point to the fact that maybe, that he's clearly on the right path to destroying Videodrome, because he still has, the emotions and the feelings and the, evidently the fear of, giving up his human form. But it's a mind trip, this movie.
I mean, we could argue in circles about things. From a note standpoint, I think I checked off the list of what I really wanted to kind of bring up and talk about. I mean, I've always loved this film. I've said it throughout this episode. I've said it in past episodes. I'm going to continue to love this film. So I mean, I don't think it will be any surprise my rating to you guys. Have you guys finished everything that you wanted to say about it, though?
Yeah. 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 Go ahead.
No, I mean, mine's always been a 10 out of 10, and it continues to be a 10 out of 10.
As expected, 10 out of 10 for you. I'll say it's a 9 out of 10, which I think is, pretty good considering I don't. Absolutely. I know that there's more, like I said, there's one more view where I'm really going to enjoy it even more, and I know it's coming. Maybe the next one, maybe not till the next one after that, but I know it's coming. I had that feel. So, but there is something about the movie, and I do think it's a really great movie, so it's 9 out of 10.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and then it's very core. It touches on subjects that are super relevant even to this day, and it felt ahead of its time. And
VR.
The effects are amazing, and James Woods is fantastic, and
awesome.
Diving deep into the explanation of what's real, what's not, what's Oblivion's intentions versus Convex's and Videodromes versus the new flesh and all that, and there's still a lot for me to absorb and to watch and to try to figure out, but a solid 9 out of 10 also.
Fantastic.
Whoa, it squeaks in.
Yeah. Wow. I am happy about that. That's great.
Be happy.
Yay. I'm very happy. Thanks.
Yes. Very cool.
I'm glad you guys liked it as much as you did too, because I know that this film It's not for everybody. Once again, there's more going on here. I don't think it's. You can't just dismiss it as a hodgepodge of ideas. There's something definitely happening here. Even if we can't 100% comprehend every aspect of it.
Yeah, there's a simpler, cohesive story that you can sort of pick out of this, and that's good enough. And then the other stuff that you want to dive deeper into is intriguing enough. But if it's not intriguing to somebody, then it can completely fall apart for them.
Yeah,
and that happens with me with some movies. But for this one, it intrigues me. And
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that for both of you guys. So
awesome.
It's in the Hall of Famer.
It's in, baby. It's in. Yes. Okay, we got to get out of here. Next show is show 88. We're going to be discussing 10 movies from 1988, and I'm going to tell you what they are real quick so everybody can catch up. Pin, yeah, Plastic Nightmare, American Gothic, The Blob, Brain Damage, Scarecrows, Cheerleader Camp, Dead Heat, The Serpent and the Rainbow, The Lair of the White Worm, and Evil Dead Trap. That is the next show. So, guys, if you want to watch along with us, do your homework. Those are the 10 movies. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We got to be out. It's been a long show. We got places to go. It's 1988, show 88 next week. But this is show 87, and we had a great time, and hope you guys did too. So, see you next time.
Peace out.
Hey, until the next time, everybody.
Death to Videodrome.
Long live the new flesh.
Nice.